afternoon, honorable members. Secretary, can you read the third order of the day, please?
Consideration of vote number 4, Social Development Appropriation Bill 2023.
Honorable Konza.
Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, Honorable Premier, good afternoon, sir. Honorable former acting Premier, Honorable Chief Whip, Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable members, and the officials that are here, good afternoon. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, I am here to present the report for social development. I will not get into the entire details of the report. With the hope that members have gone through the report as it has been with them. I will start with the findings on Program 1. I will start with B. The department continues not to finalize its organogram structure review, and as such it is indicted with organizational capacity challenges, such as a shortage of social workers, social work supervisors, and community development practitioners, which negatively impacts on its ability to deliver services efficiently. This is a repetitive finding. B or C, the department continues to experience capacity challenges in supply chain management, contracts management, and risk management units at provincial and district levels. The decentralization of procurement with an objective of minimizing the turnaround time in procurement and uniformity for a seamless operation to the district level remains incomplete due to the organizational capacity, amongst others. This is a repetitive finding again. D, the department has a total vacancy rate against funded posts of 10.8%, highly skilled production vacancy rate of 11%, and a highly skilled supervision at 17%, and senior management against funded posts vacancy rate in this current financial year. C, the district NPO units have a shortage of personnel resources and are inadequately resourced, that is, especially regarding the tools of trade. F, the standardization of the NPO's funding model across all sectors in the social development value chain is moving at a very slow pace. The NPO payment value chain negatively affects operations and capacity of the NPOs. G, the Buffalo City Municipal District Service Office has been condemned as an occupational hazard by the Department of Labor and has since closed in May 2022. The Mkanduli Cathcart Service Office offices remain closed due to their non-compliance with OHS Act, and office staff are operating from home. This is a repetitive finding again. Then we quickly go to the recommendations. I'll take the same recommendations as findings. B, the organogram structure review must be completed, and social workers, social work supervisors, and community development practitioners must be employed expeditiously. The department must submit to the committee a written report outlining its plans to address this challenge. C, the department must capacitate SCM contract management and risk management units and provincial district levels in order to decentralize procurement. The department must submit to the committee a written report outlining its plans to address this challenge. D, the department must expedite filling funded vacant posts in order to reduce the vacancy rate. A detailed plan outlining time frames of filling of these vacancies must be submitted to the committee. E, the department must submit an action plan that will outline or ensure that all NPO units in the districts are adequately resourced financially with working tools and personnel as well. F, the department must finalize the standardization of the NPO's funding model across all sectors in the social development value chain. A plan must be devised as a remedial action to ease the negative impact that NPO payment value chain has on the operations and capacity of the NPOs. G, sorry. The department must accelerate the renovation process of the BCM, Kanduli, and Cathcart service offices, and an action plan must be submitted to the committee in this regard. Going straight to program 2, there will take findings B. The department distributes sanitary towels once per financial year and expects them to sustain learners for a period of 12 months. C, Eastern Cape Frail Care Center challenges continue to be unresolved, whilst the department continues to incur irregular expenditure on this regard on a yearly basis. This is a repetitive finding that has not been adequately addressed since 2016-2017 financial year. D, the allocation of social workers to NPOs and allocation of caseload is not implemented evenly to cover areas that reflect an increase in risky behaviors and socio-economic issues. E, the last cohort of recruited unemployed social workers or social work graduates was funded using a finance environment, a clear indication of a non-prioritization of this program by the department. This conduct postulates the weak recruitment drive by the department, which has a butterfly effect to the success of the department, concluding the compilation and approval of the annual recruitment plan that will assist in the addressing most of the human resource challenges. Under the recommendations, we have the following recommendations. B, the committee recommends that a review of this mechanism, which is on sanitary towels, a review of this mechanism as it is susceptible to various risks that would defeat the entire objective of this program should be presented to the committee. C, the department must swiftly find a solution to the Eastern Cape Frail Care Center issue. A monthly report must be submitted to the committee on this regard. D, the allocation of social workers to NPOs and the allocation of caseload needs to be reviewed in order to address the uneven implementation to cover areas with uptrend increases in their risky behavior and socio-economic issues. E, the department must derive a sustainable solution that is aligned with the organizational structure and its budget to fund the unemployed social work graduates program. A report on the social workers from the unemployed social work graduates program that have recently had their employment contracts expire must be submitted to the committee. The report content must outline the time frame of the employment, duration of the employment, total money spent on the last cohort, and the plans of the department to find the next cohort in the organizational structure and budget. Also, to be included in the forecasted 2,000 social workers to be employed by the department has to be included there. Program 3, which deals with children facilities, we go to findings, and we start with finding B. The program continues to experience challenges that relate to shortage of social workers, social work supervisors, and community development practitioners. This is a repetitive finding and it remains unresolved. D, the department underspent on the final appropriation of goods and services due to the delays in the payment on leases as a result of challenges in capacity within the infrastructure and facilities unit. Recommendation B, the department must devise a plan to address the shortage of social workers, social work supervisors, and community development practitioners. The finding impacts the department in a number of areas that are under various programs. D, The department must address the issue of capacity challenge in infrastructure and facilities unit in order to deal with the delay in the lease payments. And then we go straight to program 4, and then we take finding B. Performance measures for program 4 are based on low targets. The targets are not incremental on a year-to-year basis. And then the recommendation for that is a plan must be submitted to the committee that seeks to address the low performance measure approach. The department must consider incremental baseline levels or a zero planning approach amongst other approaches in addressing this challenge. Program 5, which is the last program of the department, we go to findings and we start with finding B again. The target setting for NPO's capacitation has increased by 47.5%, skewed towards Sarah Baartman, Nelson Mandela, and Buffalo City municipalities. The allocation is detrimental to the more rural districts due to their inadequate service professionals available, distances to be traveled, and non-availability of tools of trade, that is vehicles to get to the service users, and staff shortage. And then C, this skewed distribution of transfer of payment funds to more urban districts is detrimental to the project of social transformation of the emerging NPOs and rural districts. This is a repetitive finding. Then we jump to H. The department is not time proficient when recruiting the replacing of EPWP participants, and which is an attribute of short staffing in the EPWP unit. Under recommendations, we have B. The department must submit a report detailing its plan to address the challenges of inadequate services professionals in the rural areas and tools of trade such as vehicles to service clients. The plan must address the challenges of NPO's capacity as a long-term solution. C, the department must conceive a plan that will address the skewed allocation of transfer of payments to reflect an even and more social transformation agenda towards the more rural districts.
Honorable
areas.
Member, you are only left with 3 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs. The plan must be submitted to the committee. D, the department must devise a plan that addresses the inadequate availability of CDPs. And G and H, the department must strengthen the EPWP unit capacity through employment of personnel resources. We go to general findings. We take only B. Some department offices are not conducive to implement social work services. This is at the core of the recurring performance information findings by Auditor General of South Africa. Additionally, the department has prioritized strengthening of districts' operations to the hubs of service delivery and development. However, with the current state of some of the department services offices, the declared objectives remains uncertain. The recommendation to that, the department must find a sustainable solution to the infrastructure challenges. The department must engage the provincial treasurer on exploring the framework agreement on infrastructure and non-infrastructure goods, works and services. This is a repetitive finding, and the slow progress in resolving it is intolerable. A monthly report must be submitted to the committee outlining progress to address this issue. Under conclusion, all requested reports from the department must be submitted to the committee 30 days after the adoption of the report by the House. The Portfolio Committee wishes to thank all the staff that have been involved, the MEC and the HOD, with the cooperation during the budget vote meetings. The committee therefore recommends that this budget be passed by the House. So I present, Deputy Chair of Chairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson of the committee. Honorable members, I'll give you 5 minutes if you have any questions. 1, Honorable Saziwa. 2, Honorable Pillay. 3, Honorable Malamlela. Honorable Saziwa.
Thank you, Honorable Table Chair of Chairs. In finding Program 1, finding A, because if you read the findings with the focus of the committee, is that of considering the 2023-2024 budget. Their findings talk about the department not having developed audit intervention plans for the 2021-2022 audit report. I just want to find out what's the relevance of this finding, because we are considering 2023-2024 budget. That's the first question, Chair. Then on Program 3, finding D, the department underspent on the final appropriation of goods and services. And all the story. Once again here, we are considering a budget of a year not yet being finalized. What is the relevance of this finding? Because it's talking about under expenditure, which is supposed to be when we are considering the annual report. Thank you.
Honorable Pillay.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs. I think mine is page 150, the general findings, the first one, where the finding is talking about shortage of contract managers both in district and at the head office. But if you look at the recommendation is talking about the department must address the capacity challenges. The issue here is not capacity challenge, the issue is shortage of people. So I think that needs clarity. Thank you.
Honorable Malamlela, you are the last one.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. Mine is on page 138. The first clarity is for the committee, and the second one is for the MEC of the department. On G, the Buffalo City Municipality District Service Office has been condemned as an occupational hazard by the Labor Department and has since closed down in May 2022. Then going to the recommendations, which are on page
140.
140, yes. I have a problem to understand now that recommendation when you relate it to that finding. The department must accelerate the renovation process of the BCM Kanduli and Katkat service offices. An action plan must be submitted to the committee. My question now is, if the offices were closed, where are the workers now working from? The recommendation doesn't seem to address that issue. I'm not sure if I can ask the MEC now, or I must wait for your permission, Honorable Chair, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Malamlela.
Come again.
Thank you, Honorable Malamlela. The committee is going to respond. If the committee can't respond, the chairperson is going to refer that to the MEC.
Okay.
Committee members.
I'm not sure if Unbambe Kakhle, Chair. I have a question, a specific question for the MEC.
Okay, Honorable Chairperson, can you sit down? Shoot, Honorable Malamlela, what is your question?
My question is on...
Directed to the MEC.
Yeah, on page 138.
She's going to note it because it's not that time now, but she's going to note it.
Ndibambe. Hayi ke kuthiwa mandiyibambe. Bathi liyeza ixesha la.
Lenient because the clarities now are zisikishwa kwi-committee members only according to the order of the day. Honorable members.
Thank you. I think we have noted the typo. I think it's a typo issue. Thank you very much for raising that. It is going to be corrected duly. And then with those that have been referred to the MEC, I think we'll stay. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. MEC? Is it a follow-up question? Is it a follow-up question to the committee or is it a question to the MEC? Committee members, you can go back to your seats.
Thank you.
Are there any questions directed to the MEC? Honorable Malamlela? Honorable Saziwa? Noted, that's 2.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. Mine is on page 138 to the MEC. It reads as follows on the findings. The department continues not to finalize its organogram structure, organogram structure review. And as such, it is inducted with organizational capacity challenges, such as a shortage of social workers, social work supervisors, and community development practitioners, which negatively impacts on the ability to deliver service efficiently. Then it goes on, this is a repetitive finding. You see, to me, this is a crisis. And I want to check from the MEC, what could be the challenges for the organizational structure not to be finalized, so as to avert this kind of a crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Malamlela. Honorable Saziwa?
Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs. Just a question that is related to finding E of Program 1, that the Department of Social Development has been having preschools operating under its own realm. Those have since been transferred to the Department of Education. So I just want to check with the MEC. Has the MEC of Social Development and that one of Education finalized that migration? Because currently you still have some of those preschools complaining that their migration was not properly handled. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Saziwa. Can we then proceed? Honorable Botha? Twelve minutes.
Deputy Chair of Chair, thank you. Allow me to take you back in time and more specifically, I would like to take you to February the 11th of 1990, a day that captured the imagination of both South Africa and the world, with overflowing optimism and goodwill regarding what many viewed as the dismantling of an unjust and unequal society. The release of late President and statesman Nelson Mandela Bay from the Victor Verster prison in Cape Town was most striking symbol of the end of apartheid in South Africa. His dramatic walk from the gates of the prison hand in hand with his then wife, Winnie Mandela, captured the world's imagination. And I'm sure that you can still see and recall this picture right now. It was a day that set in motion events that would hopefully change the lives of millions of South Africans. It symbolized the turning of the tide, a country with laws and policies that separated its people by color and threatened to plunge the state into total anarchy. Since that day, millions of blacks, whites, coloreds, Indians, and other peoples of South Africa were filled with hope, a better life for all to come, but specifically for black South Africans. We looked forward to a new South Africa, a new government that will honor the words of late President Nelson Mandela when he made that aureus statement, "I am your servant," when he left Victor Verster. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, to serve means to give your very best service to and dedication to look after the country and its people's best interests. I take no pleasure in stating that the ANC of today has failed to respect the people's wishes of then and has gone from one crisis to another, failing to self-correct as politicians after politicians, officials after officials continue to evade accountability for poor service delivery and corrupt activities. But believe me, accountability will be served, and it will be served by the masses as they have seen through the political rhetoric of the ANC. Disgruntled citizens who are fed up with the poor governance and incompetence within the ranks of the ANC are rising up. In fact, we are all fed up with arrogant and out-of-touch politicians and officials who either do not know what accountability is or deliberately ignoring it. The current ANC political connected...
Sorry, Honorable Botha.
Can you-
Honorable Dimaza, your hand is up. Honorable Botha,
I'll take a question during tea time.
proceed, Honorable Botha.
The current ANC politically connected elite in South Africa violated President Mandela's memory. The ANC of today cannot make any claim to being the ANC that hundreds and thousands of people gave their lives for. Today, most people have become poorer, but especially black South Africans are poorer and have little or nothing to show for their freedom. Service delivery protests are common around the world because the ANC government is failing to deliver sustainable electricity, water, sanitation, and other basic services. While the ANC is still the largest political party in South Africa, it will not be for very long. The ANC that was led by Mandela and that successfully dismantled apartheid has now degenerated into a shady ruling party riddled with corruption and mafia-style operations. The ANC won fewer than 50% of the municipalities for the last time since the local government elections and the democratic rule. This disillusionment of ANC supporters continues to grow as governance and service delivery deteriorates and poverty levels rises. Look at the recent by-election results. It will show you that the people are very cross. Poor people exist everywhere, in rural towns, metros, stop streets, street corners, parks, and at your local supermarket. And it's impossible to ignore poverty in our country. Deputy Chair of Chairs, it's against this backdrop we have to ask ourselves, is the budget for the Department of Social Development adequate? The province sits with the second highest headcount of adult poverty at 67.3%, just behind Limpopo at 67.5%, and ahead of KwaZulu-Natal at 60.7%, and the Northwest at 59.6. For those 4 provinces, more than half of their population were living in poverty. Gauteng and the Western Cape had the lowest proportion of adults living in poverty at 29.3% and 33.2% respectively. This correlates with the unemployment rate in these provinces. Interestingly, the Western Cape province has the lowest unemployment rate, currently at 25.9%, compared to the Eastern Cape at a staggering 45.3%. The Eastern Cape has a population of 6.9 million people, and we make up around 15% of the national population. Our economy contributes to 7.5% of South Africa's total GDP. Our province really needs to become much more productive. At least 65% of the province population require some form of social services. Close to 2.9 million people in the Eastern Cape are dependent on SASSA grants. 63.7% of households receive grants, compared to 46.2% that receive salaries as a source of income in the Eastern Cape. The above stats is not a good story to tell. Just ask the youth of this province. We have just celebrated Youth Day, but the youth of this province will tell you there is nothing to celebrate. Staggering unemployment among the youth has stripped them of their dignity and opportunity as they are sitting at home waiting for opportunities. The above figures are an indication of a country and a province that is not getting to grips with arresting poverty. Our province has been under ANC governance for close to 30 years now, without real economic growth that can absorb the available labor. These figures I mentioned represents real people that are struggling.
You are
to
left
make
with 2
ends
minutes,
meet.
Honorable Botha. 2 minutes. Proceed.
Given the above, I have no doubt in my mind that the founders of the ANC, who are towering figures in our history, can no longer recognize their party under this current crop of self-serving leaders. The ANC of today is not the ANC of the past. There is no more moral fiber. You brought this country to its knees with your corruption, ineptitude, and racist quotas. Social ills like GBV. Currently, we're standing at 17,618 GBV victims in crime and violence. That is make it very stressful for social workers to work under with huge caseloads. Out of 6.5 million people in the Eastern Cape, nearly 4.2 million, or 65% of people, are in need of social services, but the department only has 1,633 social workers. The reason for the above is that the department is still struggling, as we've heard, to finalize the organogram, and they are battling with capacity challenge. The shortages of social workers and social supervisors and community development practitioners has a devastating impact on the poorest of the poor. The department has failed to balance the needs and the rights of people living with disabilities, as 25 service officers audited for accessibility for persons living with disabilities were found to be non-compliant. The fact that Bethelsdorp, Zwede, and Warmer service offices have not been built have meant that people cannot fully access social services as it's settled in the district office. Can the MEC please explain by when the offices will be functional and accessible to the public, and especially to people living with disabilities? Come to the MPOs. This House agreed, Chair of Chairs, through a motion a few months ago that MPOs payments, trans payments would be prioritized and it would be finalized. Can the MEC indicate to us what is the progress on this? COVID-19 has seen that hundreds, if not thousands of people live on the streets without any facilities for
Honorable
them.
Botha, your time is up. Honorable
DA
Kotoyi.
The DA supports the report as a true reflection.
Honorable Botha, your time is
The
up.
budget tabled
Honorable
must be the
Botha,
driving
are you
force.
defying my
We support
instructions?
the budget.
Honorable Kotoyi. Eight minutes for you, Honorable Kotoyi.
Enkosi Deputy Chair of Chairs, mandibulise kubantu base Eastern Cape, ndibulise kwindlowiso mthetho, ndithi kubantwana bethongo ndithi camagu kubo. The failure by the department to develop its audit intervention plan for the 2021-22 is a serious cause for concern. Without that intervention plan, it means that there is no program or plan to address the deficiencies that were indicated in the 2021-2022 audit report. This in turn is highly likely in a situation where the same areas of concern that were highlighted by the report will resurface again in the next audit report. For this reason, the department must come up with a plan that is bound by timeframes to develop the audit intervention plans. On the website of the National Department of Social Development, the website provides that the vision of the department is to build a caring society. Persons with disabilities constitute a vulnerable group of members of the society. If 25 service offices are found to be non-compliant when it comes to accessibility for the persons with disability, this regrettably leaves one with the simple conclusion that the vision of the department, which is to build a caring society, is virtually meaningless for the person with disabilities. It is for that reason that this issue must be addressed urgently and must be time frames attached to the plan, and the department must report to the House the progress in relations to that. Uphinde uzibuze ke into kokuba xa kukho ii-offices ezivaliweyo ezingaka, ingaba loo nto izawulungiseka kanjani na? The issue surrounding the sanitary dignity project leaves more questions than answers, given that the project is aimed at instilling the right to dignity for the intended beneficiaries of the project, mainly learners from poor and disadvantaged backgrounds. The issue of the under-expenditure requires tough action to be taken against those responsible for it. Ukuba uyayazi into yasemaphandleni nento yezikolo yomntana ongathathi intweni ekufuneka engayi esikolweni kuba engakwazi ukuba nezinto zokuqoshela, yeyona nto imbi leyo ecekela isidima sabantwana phansi nesomfundi phansi. The first question relates to the fact that the appointed service provider acted in a breach of contract that was awarded to him or her. That on its own gives the department the recourse of claiming damages from the service provider for the breach. Kulapho ke EFF ithetha ngento kokuba kwa ezi tenders ezimazipheliswe, but ke sizayibona loo nto ngo-2024 xa siphethe. Also, if it turns out that then appointed service provider never had the capacity to deliver on the project, the question that arises will be on what basis was this service provider selected? Who were those who were involved in the selection process? In addition to termination of the contract, there must be an investigation on how this service provider was selected in the first place, and also whether a claim for the damages can be instituted against it. Those who were responsible for the appointment of the service provider must be held accountable, and appropriate action needs to be taken against them should there be any evidence of wrongdoing on their part. That it was real consequence management is about, not the story of the progress. Failure by the department to evenly allocate social workers to NPOs in the rural areas may imply that the rural areas are being treated or discriminated against unfairly. There are serious behavioral and socio-economic challenges in the rural areas, and it can never be justifiable or unevenly allocate social workers and caseload to rural areas. Siyayazi ba ezandawo semaphandleni azihoyekanga, akukho ncedo elizifumanayo ku-department. Why u-Department of Social Development esazibiza ngokuba ngu-Department of Social Development, whereas i-social needs akakwazi ukuzi-attenda? This needs an urgent attention. Abantu base-Eastern Cape balinde i-EFF ukuba ibakhokhele. So i-EFF ayivisisani nalena i-budget ngoba iya straight emgqomeni. Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs.
Thank you, Busana, 3 minutes. Thank you so much. Honorable Zinti, 4 minutes.
Thank you, Chair of Chairs. The social development is about improving the well-being of every individual in society so they can reach their full potential. The success of society is linked to the well-being of each and every citizen. The development in South Africa is failing due to improper implementation of public policies, due to corruption and largely poor managerial expertise. Honorable Chair, it is a disgrace that in this time of the financial year, the department has not developed its audit intervention plan for 2021-2022 audit report. The organogram is not yet finalized, and that has an impact on the functioning of the organization. The Department of Social Development need to work jointly with the Department of Public Works to make certain that the office spaces are serviced regularly to ensure that the safety of employees and the public at large, because once the office is closed due to health hazard, the service delivery gets compromised. Honorable Chair, underspending of budget is an indication of high level of incompetence, and that's why bayandivana. A product of poor budget preparation and ineptitude of top official as well as the apathy. We as the UDM are concerned about this conduct of underspending amidst all the service delivery challenges facing our province. Ingakumbi ke lo mcimbi wokushota amanyathi of staff is also hindering service delivery. Bakhona abantwana abazi social workers abagraduate but abaqeshwa isizathu asisazi kodwa kuyashota kwi department. Andizoyenza loo nto leyo manyathi. So
You are left with 2 minutes because busy. Zinto ngakho supposed to be busy.
So, EUDM, I accept the report. Enkosi.
Honorable Ndamase, 18 minutes.
Whoa. And Mandanga, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, Honorable Premier and the Executive Council, Honorable members of the August House, the religious fraternity in its entirety, the institution of traditional leadership as led by Ukonjwayo, Ugogo Lenyati, the administrative cohort of both the legislative and the executive arms of the state, the guests of this house, ladies and gentlemen in all the platforms, I greet you today in the name of Ugale Baini, the African National Congress, Yoma Fuguzela, no Solomon Gaplaje, Eyo Pix Liga Isaga Seme. In the words of Archibald Campbell Jordan, UAC, in his famous novel, Ingumbo Yeminyanya, The Wrath of the Ancestors, in chapter 10 entitled, Nqanda Mntwana Nkosi, Stop the War, the ANC Honorable Fanda has sent me to say, Nqanda Mntwana Nkosi, ngeli xesha honorable members kuthiwa nqanda Mntwana Nkosi, sele zininzi izigigaba ezihlewe emampondomiseni. Nditsho amampondomise lawa ya akulonjanya, unjanya ozalwa nguSibiside, MEC Williams. Ngeli xesha ungubengwe sele gwintiwe, egwintwa phaya kujenxa ehlangula umfundisi Williams. Lamazwi athethwa nguJongilanga, inkosi yasematyeba ewabhekisa kuZwelinzima, inkosi yamampondomise ngelo xesha. Manicaphuleke, ndiyacaphula. Linye qha ke ngoku ikroti elinokuyilamla ingadanga ihlangane nguwe. Lamla Mntwana Nkosi, nokuba idibene ngawe xa ihlanganayo, wafa wena akusenani. Ukuba ilamlekile, mhlawumbi iyakothuswa sisidumbu sakho ise iyeka. Lenje njalo kakade ikroti, close quote.
it was not only a matter of irony or satire, but it was a matter of tragedy. Tragedy is created by Dingindawo, and that tragedy was man-made. That lenkosi, emva kokuba ithethe ngolhlobo, ithetha ngobukroti ngolhlobo, kwasa isidumbu sayo sesibanda ceke, kumlambi Chokonxa, selibulewe ngosuku olulandelayo. Comrade Sondaba, ndiyayiphinda, emva kokuba enze lamazwi inkosi yasematyeba, kuse isidumbu sayo sibanda ceke, igetyengiwe. This is what happens to courageous people, Honorable Fanda. I am therefore standing here today to say to those who have the authority, those who have been given the tools by the ANC to govern the Eastern Cape of ours, to stop the scourge of poverty, to stop the scourge of joblessness, to stop the scourge of inequality. Please do it today so that tomorrow can be better than today. Honorable Premier and Honorable Fanda, the report we are debating today has the following glaring weaknesses amongst many. The first one is that Program 2 incurred an under-expenditure of 6.8 million rand on sanitary dignity project. B, Eastern Cape Frail Care Center challenges continue to be unresolved, whilst the department continues to incur irregular expenditure. The allocation of social workers to NPOs remain an exercise in futility. The shortage of social workers is still bedeviling this department. The number of human trafficking victims who access social services has decreased by 42.9%, while the next 2 outer years of MTEF targets have increased. We have only mentioned just 5 findings, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, as a sampling. It is us, the ANC, Honorable Botha. It is us, the ANC, who are shining the light on the dark corners of this department that has undergone its own metamorphosis from welfare to social development. I hope you understand the difference, Honorable Botha. It is a serious indictment to all of us in this House, Honorable Premier, that the Department of Social Development in the Eastern Cape Province thinks that there is nobody to be held responsible for an under-expenditure of 6.8 million on sanitary dignity towels. If they think that, it means they either do not know or do not care about what the financial accountants call the time value of money. This concept is about the accepted conjecture that there is greater benefit to receiving a sum of money now rather than an identical sum later. Honorable Nutsi, this thing is called money has a present value as well as a future value. So if you have it today, you must use it today. If you fail to do that, you must be punished, Honorable Nkopane. So Nganda, Honorable Premier, Nganda. The Eastern Cape Frail Care Discord is a very old thing, Honorable Konziwe and Honorable Dimaza, as well as Honorable Mkhaha. Joint meetings were convened by Honorable Konziwe, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, to knock sense into Department of Health, Department of Finance, and Department of Social Development. Here we are, Honorable Luan, still talking about it. Why, Honorable Members? Our view, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, is that the continued unfair allocation of funds for one particular racial grouping to the disadvantage of other racial groupings puts a spanner on the non-racialism project to the detriment of nation building. Have we forgotten Samora Machel when he said, I quote, "Tribes must die for a nation to live," Honorable Fanda and Honorable Premier Ngandan? The NPOs are still facing the challenges of slow transfer of their allocations. We must therefore spare them the frustrations of minimal social workers. This department, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, is called social development. So social workers are a critical cog in the survival of it. So any shortage of social workers in the Department of Social Development must be stopped. So Ngandan Babim, Oliver Reginald Tambo, addressing the ANC external mission on the 1st of January 1971, had this to say, Honorable Board, I quote, "The campaign to break Africa's resistance to apartheid and her support for the liberation struggle in Southern Africa has scored significant successes. Forster, Suzman, and lesser agents of colonialism have turned Africa into a veritable hunting ground for stooges and indigenous agents of racism. Mrs. Suzman, the Democratic Party of yesteryears, Honorable Board, deserves special mention. This sweet bird from the blood-stained South flew into Zambia and sang a singularly sweet song. I quote the song from Tambo. I am opposed to apartheid. I am opposed to the isolation of South Africa. I am opposed to violence. I am opposed to guerrillas. I am opposed to Lusaka Manifesto. I am opposed to the decision of the World Council of Churches. I am clearly in favor of change, but I am determined to prevent change, close quote. That is the song of Helen Suzman. Akutsho mna, kutsho uTambo in page 156 to 158 of the book Oliver Tambo Speaks by Adelaide Tambo, in the chapter entitled We Who Are Free to Eat and Sleep. So, Honorable Board, nawe kufuneka unqandile okanye unqandiwe. Make a choice, mfana kithi. In conclusion, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, I want to talk about Robin Sharma just for a few minutes, who is a Canadian of an Indian descent. He was born in Uganda. He has written a number of books, including the following: The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, The Leader Who Had No Title, The Saint, The Surfer, and the CEO. Who will cry when you die? Honorable Board, who will cry when you die? The 5 a.m. Club. Sharma argues about what he calls the final questions in his book, The Saint, The Surfer, and the CEO. And those final questions, we are told that those are the questions that are asked by a person who has what is called a conscience at his or her own deathbed. And those questions are the following: Did I live wisely? Did I love well? Did I serve greatly? There is more to living than breathing, honorable crowd. There is more to living than breathing. There is more to loving than hugging. And there is more to serving than hero worshipping. Serving is the duty of servants, not masters, honorable Board. The question is, did I serve greatly? Did I serve greatly? And the students of servant leadership are going to tell you that there is a basis for servant leadership. And I will just give you 3. The first one is empathy. Are we empathetic enough to be called servant leaders, honorable Board? Do we display stewardship to be able to be called servant leaders? Is there commitment to personal growth of others in whatever we say when we're standing on these platforms? I dare say today, Deputy Honorable Chair of Chairs, as the ANC, we support this report and commit to stop the rot wherever it is, and plead to all of us to aspire to serve greatly in an endeavor to never prevent change. To never prevent change, honorable Board. Remember what Tambo said about the Democratic Party of yesteryears. In the march of this Eastern Cape towards prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable MEC Fanta. 10 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs. Honorable Speaker and the Deputy in their absence, Honorable Premier, honorable members of the Executive Council, honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, Head of Department of Social Development and Management yakhona. Abefundisi inkosi ezola kwethu nabantu bonke ababukele kumakhasi onxibelelwano. Mbadithi kuni Bhotane egameni kaMama Maxeke ekamama Mangoyi egameni lenkosi enguYesu Kristu. I am honored for the opportunity accorded to me to reflect on the findings of the Portfolio Committee of the Department of Social Development Budget Vote 2023-2024 financial year. The report is the accountability mechanism for the work and service to be delivered to the people of our province. Allow me to acknowledge that this sitting coincides with the Africa Public Service Week, which also coincides with Youth Month, where government embarks on activities to motivate public servants, promote innovations, enhance professionalism in order to raise the image of public service and enhance trust in government and its services. Also, as the department you recently visited for the empowerment of young people, Abongile Farm Produce Primary Co-op Limited, which is a youth development project that focuses on crop production, and it is funded by Department of Social Development with an amount of 341,000. We pride ourselves with this initiative, as the project is now not only supplying Ngumbela fresh food, it also supplied Spar, box, supermarkets around Gqeberha and Tsomo, and this created job opportunities for young people. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we tabled this 2023 budget speech. When we tabled it, we did not see in the midst of our most pressing concerns that the social development budget allocation has not kept pace with our growing population and complexity of social development needs. Equally concerning are the rising costs of unfunded and underfunding mandates with this portfolio is expected to implement. Honourable members, at the core of our performance weaknesses as department, as mentioned by the findings, it is an adequate office of space, shortage of working tools, high vacancy rate and expenditure, and on constitutional obligation, that is sanitary dignity program. This is particularly reflected by weaknesses in human resource capacity, high vacancy rate, inefficiencies in procurement processes, which translate in the delays experiencing in the delivery of sanitary towels, amongst others. Over the months, we'll to embark upon concentrating effort to deal with factors undermining the performance of social development. That includes making an honest reflection about the state of our department and what must be done through turnaround plan to restore the confidence and oversight structures now and beyond. The department acknowledges the recurring findings on frail care services. Indeed, this situation has placed the Department of Social Development in a very compromising position and in a contravention of the constitutional obligation in the provision of care, protection, support services to older persons in an adequate manner without discrimination. In view of these circumstances, the Department of Social Development has approached the Department of Health with a proposal of a hybrid approach that will consider an integration of frail care services within the operation of the currently funded residential care facilities. These services are proposed to be rendered utilizing a shared framework in the form of non-interprofessional and interdependent cooperation and collaboration between DSD and DOH. This proposed model will see the establishment of shared services framework for caregiving across professional discipline, particularly between the Department of Social Development and Department of Health. Interprofessional cooperation and collaboration in caring older persons, including those persons with physical frailty and mental incapacity, is not essentially but most critical. We want to run away with the issue of further discrimination. Yoba abanye nyebala bafumana imali enye enkulu, abanye bafumana encinci. In this approach and guiding model, the provisioning of care to older persons will be effectively enhanced by utilization of a range of experiences and expertise that operate within a shared framework.
You are left with 4 minutes, Honorable MEC.
It is our belief that we will provide an opportunity for cost-effective mechanism to an implementary in Eastern Cape. Honorable Chair of Chairs, the government, we regard our workers as an invaluable asset in the attainment of our national vision goal of building capable and developmental state as outlined in our national development plan. Hence, we have committed to increase the supply of social worker services practitioners by 200 this financial year. It's a milestone that the House could, because it was since 2012 when we last take a cohort of social workers. But this year we're committed to say the 200 social workers are going to be employed. And we are looking forward with these honorable members to correct this resource shortfall towards ensuring that we meaningfully attend to the aspiration of the people. Thus, we will comprehensively respond to findings and recommendations of the committee within 30 days, and plans will be given effect of the recommendation. Coming with the questions that are being asked by the committee, with the issue of NPOs. NPOs, I think, as a department, we have tried our level best in paying them. A lot have been paid. With the issue of organogram, as a department, the organogram, we're about to finish it, but we're still consulting somewhere, somehow, but we're promising this year, this organogram is going to be finalized. The issue of PCM staff, they are rotating at the moment when it comes to work remotely and to attend clients by appointment. It's not a good thing, but they are working because they are rotating in attendance.
2 minutes left.
The issue of ECD, which a person of education, I think arranged a meeting of the two departments to address this thing. Unfortunately, that meeting aborted, and we're still looking forward that you arrange that meeting again. Yes, with the issue of buildings, yes, it is a disaster, but working with the government, public works, we are hoping to resolve the issue of accessibility of our offices in some of areas. It's an infrastructure problem. It's not us only as Department of Social Development. Public Works will assist us in also trying to get lease agreement where there is access. It's not a good thing, but we're trying our level best. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. I put the report. Any objections? Thank you. Secretary, can you read the fourth order of the day?
Consideration of vote number 5, Public Works and Infrastructure Appropriation Bill 2023.
Honorable Matuane, over to you. $15 minutes.
Honorable DCOC, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, and Honorable members of this august House, senior management of the legislature, HODs, our guests, or guests in the gallery. By the way, I must say that I greet you in the name of Mama Charlotte Matlege, Mama Fanda. This day in history, we are told that Mama Matlege attained her BSc degree on the 20th of June, 1901. Essentially what it means is that today marks 122 years since that historic moment where she attained as a first black woman graduate at the time. Salute to this great woman, Istwala Ndesiaparankwe, Iswenye. Honorable TSOC, allow me to present the report on public works and infrastructure. We shall focus on findings and recommendations. We're not going to be exhaustive in doing so for the sake of time. On program 1, the committee has made the following findings. We have noted the issue of persistent irregular expenditure. Number 2, we have noted the fact that the department has failed to meet the prescribed targets regarding employment of persons with disabilities. Number 3, we have also noted a positive development in the department that they've been able to attain 56% employment of women within SMS level, thus exceeding the prescribed equity targets. On recommendations, the department, with this budget, the department must implement efficient and effective financial management system. The department must provide the committee with a clear plan indicating the timelines on how it intends to recruit people with disabilities. The department must continue to populate and migrating off from the old structure to the new organogram. As we all know that we have said during this term of administration that we'll establish a nerve center of infrastructure in the province. And the department is moving with speed in this regard. On program 2, we make the following findings at the committee. The department continues to co-source professional services. Whilst in the past 2 years, it has been engaged in the program to enhance its internal capacity. We have also noted or made the finding regarding the delay of transfers of project from client departments to the department as implementing agents, which at times causes delays in the completion of projects and in some instances compels the department to use its own funds. Please note this finding, honorable members. We do not know why people are still holding on when we are building this infrastructure nerve unit or department of this provincial government. They are still holding on. We also make the following findings. Department revenue collection initiatives and programs are not yielding good results. This finding we make against the backdrop of what Honorable Minister of Finance made, that some departments, inclusive of public works, will have to contribute more to raise revenue, to contribute to the internal receipts, so that we have a fair budget to attend to our programs and initiatives as the province. Regarding we also note the fact that there is no clear plan or coherent strategy to prevent illegal occupation of state properties, illegal invasion of land, as well as vacant buildings that are being vandalized. The department has obtained 57 eviction court orders in Mthatha. However, these eviction orders are not yet executed. The department has no alternative energy solution to mitigate the effects of load shedding in government buildings or facilities. We also have made a find that the department has no facilities maintenance plan. Regarding prestige portfolio, whilst we note the improvement regarding this area, we still are making a finding that they are not continuously properly maintained. Even though the department has launched a call center, which is a positive move, which we must applaud them. On recommendations on program 2, the department must develop its internal capacity for professional services with a view to drastically reduce the utilization of consultants by the end of this financial year. The department must expedite the proposal to Presidential Infrastructure Coordination, Premier Coordination Infrastructure Coordinating Committee regarding the standardization of service level agreement to all departments and must propose a system of tranche payments as a way of curbing delays in project caused by late or non-payment by client departments. We applaud, Honorable Premier, the establishment of the PICC so that we can attend to the problem of non-cooperation by client departments as and when infrastructure program and projects have to be executed. What we would love to see is that committee working and having teeth to bite in this regard. The department must assess the feasibility of the project before the implementation to avoid implementing redundant projects due to change in social conditions and passage of time. In this case, we would want to draw your attention to the fact that a department, for example, Honorable Saziwa, like education, the community requires a school in 2010, but due to financial challenges, the school can only be delivered in 2023. The need is still there, but the conditions of delivery may not be the same. And therefore, we're arguing that there must be proper feasibility before that project is implemented, so that we do not deliver good, beautiful schools. There are no children. The department must utilize the mechanism that will ensure that the target of 79.1 million revenue is collected, even though we're still arguing that this is understating of revenue collection capabilities by the department. We still feel that they can still do more, but because they've made this target with Treasury, we have said they must make sure that this target is achieved. The department must expedite the rollout of land audits and land surveys. The department must develop a clear plan on how it intends to protect and safeguard state properties from illegal occupation and invasion. The department must expedite the execution of the eviction orders so as to ensure that the state properties are occupied by legal and lawful occupiers. This is West in the former Transkei, Honorable DCOC. The department must consider installing alternative energy solution in all government buildings to mitigate against the effects of load shedding. We cannot be caught wanting regarding this. At least we must be seen to be moving ahead with the provision of other solutions regarding energy, given what we all know. The department must, as a matter of urgency, follow up with the Provincial Treasury Interim Bid Adjudication Committee, IBEC, to ascertain the causes of delay in the finalization of procurement process relating to the Bishop Office present. And we require a report, comprehensive report in this regard, and a plan to overcome that this project is delivered within the current period. On program 3, which is expanded public works, we make the following findings. The department reached its target on the work opportunities that it was able to create. However, it did not reach the target for full-time equivalent that have made it to qualify for an increase. As a result, the grant has been reduced. The PWP participants are employed on temporary basis and are working for 3 days a week. This system of work promotes casualization of workers. Recommendations: the department must implement programs that will make it qualify for an increase in the grant funding. A detailed plan must then be submitted to the committee. The department must explore the feasibility of budgeting for permanent employment of the participants and increasing the working days from 3 to 5 days a week. Again, we request a detailed report in this regard to be furnished to the committee. On general findings, Honorable DCOC and members, the communications function in the office of the MEC is not adequately executed to ensure that the departmental messaging reaches far and wide. Number 2, the committee welcomes the establishment of the Premier's Infrastructure Coordinating Council as an overarching provincial structure to coordinate infrastructure development initiatives in the province. On recommendations, the Office of the MEC must utilize or must devise a communication strategy that will encompass utilization of print media and social media platforms to enhance departmental messaging, in particular on matters that relates to illegal invasion of building,
2 minutes
illegal
left.
occupations of land, and. Honorable DCOC, our last general recommendation, the department together with all other departments forming part of the PICC must ensure that the structure is effectively utilized to solidify provincial response to infrastructure development driven by the new establishment of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure in the province. In conclusion, honorable members, would like to thank the Provincial Department of Public Works, the MEC and her executive management, the team that works with the committee, the honorable members of this portfolio committee for the work that have been done, and all the recommendations tabled before this House should be therefore be responded within 30 days after the adoption. So we present the report. Thank you very much, DCOC.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of the Committee. Can we then proceed to point number 2? Are there any questions, honorable members? Honorable Deputy Chair, Chief Whip, you are number 1. Honorable Salziwa, number 2. Honorable Becker, number 3. Honorable Deputy Chief Whip.
Inkosi sekela sihlalo osihlalo. Pha kwela khasi lekhulu namashumi amahlanu nesihlanu. Kwamqola upha ezantsi. Lento ibhekene ne-load shedding. Just uba ndibuza nje apha kwikomiti uba nebe behleli nesebeli kulento uthetha uba awukho nenkithiza le yokuba apha kukamnyama kwala senima xa bebehleli nesebe ngoba bathi akukho zinto zine-energy saving to mitigate. Sendithetha uba kwento zilayitileyo khange bake bathi banayo into banokuzama noba ziglowu ezi zazikade zibakhona kwiminyaka egqithileyo. Kumatyeli agqithileyo bake bethi banazo into ezine-energy saving bulbs, uba zii-bulbs.
And mandibancedise ke Deputy Chief Whip. Page 155I. Proceed.
Okay. Lige ngokulekhulu elinamashumi amahlanu nesithandathu iphela. Pha kulo ke nakho ndaba ngu-L ndiboni kakuhle kodwa ibhekene nalento ithetha nge-office precinct yaseBitro. Into ekudala ke ndikhuna uqonda uba uphayiphi lo wesebe ungakanani uba mde ngoba ithetha ngo-long pipeline laa nto indipha. Kwakudala ndicinga uba ke lo ukhoyo andazi uba ngowesine na inhloko yelento ku-executive authority. Kwakudala kuxelwa ngale ndaba yale Bishop Park precinct. Xa nithetha uba inde, ithetha uba inde kangakanani. Over ii-decades zintoni ezi kodwa kuthiwa ngapha kusathethwa nge-bid adjudication. Enze bani xa nithetha uba ngu-long pipeline, ngupipe ongakanani uba mde lo nithetha ngayo.
Page 156L. Honorable Salziwa. We resolved to use 4 languages. The Deputy Chief Whip is correct.
Kodwa ke isimpondo asikho kwezo languages.
Honorable Salziwa.
Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs, and thanks to the Chairperson of the committee for the report. Chair, on Program 1, Finding A, my reading of that finding creates a sense of doubt that in this financial year, the department will be able to obtain a clean audit outcome. I just want to check as to when you ask the department reasons for them not attaining except the issue of the poor management of property leases. How is the department responding to that? On finding E,
Same program.
same program. Thank you,
Program
Deputy Chair of
one.
Chairs. The committee is saying the committee welcomes the departmental re-engineering that is geared towards enhancing its infrastructural development role. Now, when it gets to the recommendation, it talks about the appointment of the 3 chief directors. Because I was expecting that in your finding, we're supposed to have pointed to us that there's a planned appointment. You are talking about the re-engineering. Can you clarify me whether then the re-engineering you are talking about is the very appointment of the 3 chief directors? And why did you elect not to mention? Because to me, the current finding is hiding what you are saying is a recommendation. On program 2, finding C, it says after receiving a project to be implemented from a client department, the department does not conduct its own independent assessment of the feasibility of the project before implementation, thus resulting in implementation of outdated and redundant projects. Is there no clear requirement by each client department that ought to be followed before the department is found wanting? The last one is on finding age. The department has received a total of 1,142 schools that are closing down. Is this referring to the 2023-2024 financial year? So that the MEC here behind me, when we examine the report on education, we can be able to be in tandem with that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Saziwa. Honorable Becker.
Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs. I'm referring to recommendations on page 154, and I merely want to highlight a trend that I see. Subsection A, the department must implement. B, the department must provide. C, department must continue. D, the department must ensure. E, the department must ensure. Then I'm going to go to program 2, recommendations, same trend. A, the department must develop. B, the department must expedite. And so I can go on. The department must assess. The department must utilize. The department must expedite. The department must develop. The department must expedite. The department must find ways. The department must consider. I can go on and go on. Deputy Chair of Chairs, how did we arrive at a point where we don't know what we do?
Honorable members of the committee.
Honorable Disosi, the last honorable member, the committee would not attempt to respond to English. The content is raised in the wording. The crux of the issue is raised in the wording. When we say assess, we're directing the department to do what we thought they have not done. When we say they must provide, we're emphasizing a need for them to furnish the committee with information and ensure this house is fully briefed about progress. I would not attempt to further go beyond that point. Perhaps the member can help him outside the meeting with the usage of English in that context. Regarding the question raised by Honorable Manyati, Honorable Fihlani, Deputy Chief Whip, I was hoping that Deputy Chief will not be asking too many questions when there's Chief Whip here. About my bony office. What the department has said to us regarding the issue or the possibility of usage of alternative energy solutions for government buildings, they have said they are exploring utilizing this precinct as the first target for that purpose. But the committee further said we need a comprehensive plan of all government buildings. That is why in the subsequent finding we make a submission or a finding that they don't have a coherent facilities management plan as a department, because we further argue that as a committee, it should not only target, it must be a first attempt, this one, but they must move ahead in all government buildings that they are responsible for as public works. So we leave it to them exploring and utilizing this precinct as the first target to ensure that at least we circumvent the challenges of load shedding. Pipeline, we will leave it to the MEC. Suffice to say that what the department has said regarding the Bishop precinct, they have done everything required. But IBEC, which is Treasury Bid Adjudication Committee, centralized, is holding on. So we have said they must try and unlock those delays to ensure that this project is delivered on time and within budget. But if the MEC wants to add, I'll leave that to her. On clean audit, we'll leave that to the MEC. Honorable Saziwa, what makes the department not achieve clean audit? Regarding government re-engineering, what we're making here, which Honorable Saziwa is saying we're ambiguous, we are not saying what we're supposed to say in the finding. We have said it. We have said, as part of migrating from the old Department of Public Works to DPWI, the department has appointed 3 chief directors, inclusive of education, health, and ed. Number 2, that re-engineering does not only speak only on that issue. We have spoken in the report about migration, populating the new structure, moving from the old to the new structure. That is in its entirety, in its value chain, talks about re-engineering the department to bring about the change we so require to harness the new responsibility of infrastructure as public works. That is why we are saying, then on redundant project and clean audit, we'll leave it to the MEC. Redundant projects and clean audit. Thank you very much.
Are there any additions, honorable members? None. Thank you, honorable members. Can go back to your seats. Can we then proceed, honorable members? If you do have questions directly to the MEC, just for 5 minutes. Honorable Saziwa, Honorable Malamlela, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. Honorable Saziwa, you are number 1.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. To the MEC, it is the practice in this House that when we consider reports of each department, we should have both the political head and the admin head. Seated here, I don't see the head of department for this. Maybe the MEC has an apology. Can we be clarified about that? In fact, the top management ought to be here. It's not here. Can they account about their absence here? The second one that relates to the MEC is regarding the prestige portfolio wherein the houses that are occupied by members of the legislature. Members are billed as business entities by the Buffalo City Municipality. And if my memory serves me well, this house had charged this department to work hand in glove so that members can be rescued from these exorbitant bills that we get from our local state. How far, or what is the plan going forward? Because I didn't see it in the policy speech. I didn't see also here plans here in the budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Saziwa. Honorable Malapel.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. Mine is on program 2, on page 155, on the findings, Madlami. There's that syndicate which is in Amtata, in a way that is taking over government buildings and the houses. Now, my clarity is on G. The department has obtained 57 eviction court orders in Amtata. However, the eviction orders are not yet executed. I just want to be clarified what's happening by Umadlami. Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy Chief.
Enkosi kuyalibuha modula situlo mbutso waka I think Chair, it's about kulento in the government buildings. I think it's F. It's your finding F also. The question it relates to is it Kiyama? Lendo into about assets. I'm not sure about Kiyama going to lungisa mamtla. But into asset register because I know for a fact that 3 houses in the ministerial complex are not proclaimed. So how much more to the others as the report is mhlambi ke ngoku banalo ithuba umama lo ukhokhele isebe uba banalo na iplan yokuba ngexesha elithile bazobe beqinisekile selba zonke iiassets ezi zibe bayazazi because mna ndithi kungazazi assets ezizabo ziyi3 ntetha enkompolo zintathu izindlu ezingaproclaimwanga. I can give the name nabanazo nabo 2021, 22, 2021, 22 are not part of their own asset as you even Buffalo. So xa uzoqala kwalapha awukayi eQonce, awukayi eMthatha, awukayi kwezinye indawo. So inayo ikhona iplan kwisebe abeqinisela uba bafuna ukuthi ngexesha elithile all their assets zizabe zikhona asset register nentontoni. Okulandela kokugqibela kwesihlalo yilento bendiyibuza pha ekomitini bathe bazoqala apha xa bethetha nekomiti mhlambi angongeza ingakumbi kwezi ndawo buildings karhulumente uba babe nazo ikhona izinto sithi sibanazo ezi globes emakhaya ivelithi uba ucika umbane itsheki layithile noma kuyixeshana elithile kunani kona akukho noba ke kuloo plan banokuyenza ingakumbi kwezi indawo zikarhulumente ezi offices zikhoyo ubiye police station uba umkile umbane kumnyama. So ingase kuba ikhona ni plan abanayo yokwenza ezi zinto zine energy saving isikakhulu uba banayo batsho sihlala. Inkosi.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chief Whip. She's referring Honorable MEC to program 2 F. Thank you. Can we then proceed, Honorable Nutze? MEC number 10, according to MEC, can you respond, or you are going to respond? That's okay.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Chairs and the House. I thought I would start by tendering an apology for the HOD when I start presenting and responding to the debate. The HOD is not well, Chair, but on the bench we have an acting HOD, or Ms. Nomandela, with the full bench of the chief directors that are here with her. With regards to portfolio, prestige portfolio and municipality bills, we are working together with the Office of the Legislature that deals with the members' welfare. We've been to the Buffalo City Metro. We met with the executive mayor and her MMCs, discussing about a number of issues relating to the department as well as the legislature prestige portfolio. We had arranged to have a follow-up meeting on the issues that we raised, but unfortunately and fortunately, there were guests in the province that prevented us to continue with that meeting. We have reset another date, and in that meeting, we attended together with the Deputy Speaker of the Legislature. We invited him to form part of the delegation so that he assists us in presenting the actual programs that affect honorable members. The Mtata Syndicate, we are dealing with the evictions. We have a court order, and our team is chasing those illegal occupants from the houses. And there's a loud cry, and some of them now are trying to inform the public that they don't have anywhere else to go. They've been there for more than 20, 30 years in those houses illegally occupied. But we are not turning back. We are dealing with them. The government buildings and the houses, yes, in the ministerial complex is part of our compiled report that will be given to the committee, as well as the general audit of the properties that we have in all the towns, particularly King Williamstown, Bishop, and East London, as well as the other district regions in the province. Well, with regards to alternative energy and energy saving globes, I'll be presenting to the House 8 buildings that have been already assessed by the department and the process going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. Honorable Nutsu. Twelve minutes.
Good afternoon, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, Honourable Premier, members and the guests in the gallery. You are all greeted. Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, today I'm only going to speak about 3 main things in terms of this report and my speech in terms of this department. The first is the effect that it has on this department that there is no maintenance plan or full facilities management plan for the department, and then that going hand in hand with the fact that there is really no plan to mitigate the effects of load shedding, especially on the property portfolio of the department. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the new recommendation that this committee has in this report when it comes to the non-payment of client departments to DPWI as an implementing agent. And you will know that I say new because, like I always like to brag, I've been on this committee for almost 10 years, and it will be the first time that we see this recommendation, and I'm very excited about it. And then the third thing I'm going to talk about is the effect that the fact that this department could not get the Bishu precinct implemented for the last 10 years. The effect that this has on the DPWI and also on the Premier's Infrastructure Coordinating Committee and what that means. Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, the three factors that I mentioned are some of the main root causes of problems within this department, because it all stems from it. The fact that according to the findings and recommendations of the committee, there is no set maintenance program for properties which belongs to this department. It is absolutely critical to the effective management of the department's property portfolio. It is further alarming that there is no contingency plan to mitigate the effects of load shedding in terms of buildings owned and managed by the Department of Public Works. It is essential that the wheels of government keep turning even when the lights are off. And we must remember that the Department of Public Works is responsible for housing various government departments, and we simply have to come up with some kind of contingency plan to keep the lights on and to keep the wheels of government turning during load shedding. We all know and have to be honest about the fact that load shedding is not going anywhere. In fact, it is probably going to get worse and worse over the next couple of years. Secondly, Honourable Chair of Chairs, there are mainly only two reasons for the terminations of massive and massive time delays of infrastructure projects. So if you really think about it, there are two reasons why the department as an implementing agent are falling short. The first is that we continue to employ poor performing or non-performing contractors, and we've spoken about that many, many times at this podium. And the other reason is the fact that the department keeps struggling because client departments are not making payment or not making payment in time to the Department of Public Works. So for years we've been talking about blacklisting non-performing or poor-performing contractors. But we do not seem to be able to get the answer to some of these pertinent questions. How many of these contractors have been blacklisted? How much have been claimed in penalties? How much has been recovered for shoddy or poor workmanship on these projects? And who have been held accountable for these failures? Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we do not seem to be able to get answers to these questions. We keep saying, yes, we are going to blacklist, yes, we are going to recover funds, yes, we are going to claim penalties, we are going to hold people accountable, but yet we still cannot really answer these questions. It is clear, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chair, that unless something changes drastically within the fibre of the department and the way that it conducts itself, we will continue to see irregular expenditure, and we've stated it here, keeps putting that clean audit just out of reach for this department. Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, when I talk about not being able to get payment from client departments for these infrastructure projects, what does that really mean? We have to ask ourselves what that really means. It means that schools are not being completed. They are started and not being completed we as a committee stand there with these children, so excited when these projects start and so disappointed when it hangs in limbo because there's been non-payment. And the same goes for schools and clinics. And we must also remember the knock-on effect that it has, because now those contractors cannot pay subcontractors. SMMEs cannot be paid. And those operations do not have enough funding and capital within them to keep their doors open while they wait for these payments. But on that note, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, it's for the first time, like I said, in 10 years, that I can stand here and know that although this is a reoccurring finding, we are not having a reoccurring recommendation. For the first time, I really feel that we've got a recommendation to address non-payment of client departments going forward, and that we are taking a step in the right direction as this new committee in terms of our feasibility studies that we are going to implement and possibly implementing tranche payments. Will that be the solution? It remains to be seen. But it is a breath of fresh air to see a new recommendation for a reoccurring finding, really actually for the first time in 10 years. But as we know, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, recommendations only have power when it is implemented. We have to make sure that we implement the recommendations of our committees. If we can't do that, we will have no choice but to implement Rule 204 of the Standing Rules of Orders, in order to secure the integrity of this House, and I quote, and comply with constitutional duties of the legislature, the House may, on the recommendation of the Portfolio Committee, resolve to instruct a political office bearer or an official of the legislature to take the necessary measures within its constitutional power to ensure the implementation of resolutions. In conclusion, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chair, we spoke about it. This was first the Department of Roads and Public Works. Then it changed to the Department of Public Works, the nerve centre of infrastructure. Now it is the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. So it kept changing over a period of time. But what I want to say is that fundamentally, the main aim was still to be an implementing agent of infrastructure projects. And through you, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, to the Honourable Premier, we support the Premier's Infrastructure Coordinating Committee, because infrastructure is so important. It's a catalyst to economic growth. So much relies on it. And if there's one thing that infrastructure needs in this province, it's proper coordination. But don't let projects like the failed Bishu Office Precinct be the Achilles heel of the PICC. Don't let it drag you down like it dragged down this department for the last 10 years. My plea is, please get it right under the PICC. We support this report, and we will be supporting the budget of this committee as one of the key infrastructure implementing departments, and the work that this portfolio committee has done. Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Ponto. Order. Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, inkulumuso yephondo. Isabhokwe esikhulu sendlu yowisomthetho, amalungu ecabinet akhona, amalungu endlu yowisomthetho, government officials zikhokhelwe ngu-DG namhlanje, invited guests, mandibulise apha emva kwemini. Deputy Chair of Chairs, qala mandithi happy birthday kupremier wethu ngale mini namhlanje.
Happy birthday ku Premier ngalemina namhlanje. Sithi happy birthday Ntungwana. Uyayazi birthday yakhe, siyayazi birthday yakhe thina. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, June month is a stark reminder of the past where brutal forces unleashed violence on young learners, provoking anger throughout the country. At the center of the protest was a rejection of inferior education, which was exclusively designed for the black people, with the language of Afrikaans being imposed as a medium of instruction to primary and secondary school. Education in its philosophical design is an entire process encouraging independent thinking. Its emphasis should not just be accumulation of facts, but also a development of critical skills. Unfortunately, apartheid policy ignored this narrative and stifled the very intellectual capabilities which would have facilitated huge economic growth. Today, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we mark this month mindful of the past while we are focusing on the challenges of the youth in our lifetime. Our government has opened opportunities in the education sector where all can pursue careers in areas where June 16 generation and other were denied due to their skin color. We now have armies of specialists such as engineers, architects, scientists, pilots, chartered accountants, cardiologists, to name but the few. In line with the developmental state, we call on all young women to grab and exploit skills and training opportunities. We applaud to the department for its effort of recruiting women at senior management level at acting HOD. By even surpassing its target, this is a welcome development, understanding that they were appointed on merit in the same way that such requirement applies to them. We are concerned that equity targets are not met within the department at all levels. The department must proactively strive to change this situation and improve the picture. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, in the January 8th statement of 2023, the African National Congress once again placed infrastructure investment high up in the agenda. They insisted unequivocal terms that, I quote, we need to increase investment in infrastructure and ensure that construction projects are undertaken within the necessary agency, close quote. In the same statement, the ANC called on government to prioritize infrastructure investment over other expenditure items. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, as the nerve center of infrastructure delivery, becomes instrumental in ensuring that the government party's strategic objectives of delivering infrastructure projects with speed is realized. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, the Provincial Development Plan acknowledges that strategic economic infrastructure can be a major catalyst for economic development, particularly when new infrastructure helps to lower enterprise costs and improve efficiency. Social infrastructure, just like economic infrastructure, is vital to the development of sustainable communities. New infrastructure also encourages investment. The PDP prescribes that the province must build infrastructure planning capacity that ensures that the new infrastructure investment is aligned with the provincial development agenda. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, as a public asset custodian and main public infrastructure implementing agent, plays a key role in the maintenance and management of public works. The committee correctly points out in its report that to get the best out of social infrastructure, the department must devise a coherent facilities maintenance plan to cater for both short and long-term maintenance. The public works infrastructure must not be left to deteriorate for long periods of time without proper maintenance. Honorable DCOC, we have been noting that many universities and colleges have limited proper student accommodation within the precinct. In this regard, we cautiously welcome the effort by the Department of identifying and exposing pieces of land as well as of property developers. It is our belief that such action will drastically reduce use of private residence, but we are mindful that this is a long-term solution. Similarly, we urge the potential buyers to conduct their work professionally as we become disappointed when some of the finished projects do not meet required standards. They view this merely as the opportunity to business and enrich themselves. It becomes unacceptable when other student accommodations are not safe, thus exposing young women to gender-based violence and femicide. We commit ourselves as an oversight body that will watch it closely. It is also our interest as African National Congress to see more previously disadvantaged developers and new entrants with no previous experience, as well as emerging black developers given an opportunity to take part in this industry. We call on all the state institutions to support black and emerging developers with financial support and relevant technical skills to empower them. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs and honorable members, we have in recent times witnessed an unprecedented destruction of the government infrastructure by some of our people. Addressing the National Council of Provinces in June 2021, the President correctly characterized this phenomenon when he said, and I quote, "Damage to public infrastructure, whether through vandalism or theft, is nothing less than sabotage against the aspiration of South Africans. Damaged infrastructure is a crime against the people of our country because when people get angry or frustrated, there is no reason they should attack public infrastructure and prevent other people from getting services from that public infrastructure," close quote. The President continued to say, and I quote, "It will take us a long time to replace infrastructure that has been willfully damaged because it is much more expensive to fix damaged infrastructure. As the ANC, we call on all members of this august House, irrespective of party affiliation, to condemn the blatant destruction of government infrastructure. We agree with the committee report that the department must devise a clear plan to prevent illegal occupation of state properties, illegal invasion of land, and vacant buildings that are being vandalized. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, the department has the potential to contribute immensely on provincial-owned generated revenue. As the ANC, we are inspired by the attempts by the department to target the collection of 79.1 million in the year 2023-24 financial year. The committee has always maintained that the department has not tapped in its full capacity in revenue generation. We are further inspired at the ruling party that the department has set aside 9 million for conducting land audits and land surveys. We believe that this exercise will contribute in affirming ownership of state land with the view to ensure that land is utilized for the benefit of the state, thus deriving some revenue in some of these land parcels. The department must further ensure this agency that all the eviction orders that are granted to its favor are executed. All these plans that the department has put in place are indicative of a department that is serious about enhancing revenue collection for the benefit of the province. In conclusion, Deputy Chair of Chairs, although the departmental budget in 2023-24 shows a decrease when compared to 2022-23 revised estimate. We are inspired by the resolve to ensure that own revenue generation is improved. As the ruling party, we are satisfied with the stride that the department has made in various aspects of its performance. The department must now strive to attain unqualified audit report with no findings. To achieve this goal, the persistent irregular expenditure must be addressed.
2 minutes left.
As the ruling party, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we support the report and we support the budget. I thank you.
Thank you. Honorable M. Isinkupane. 10 minutes.
Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, Deputy Speaker, Chair of Chairs, Honorable Premier and members of the Executive Council, Honorable Chief Whip and Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, and Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and members. The Director General of the Eastern Cape Province, Head of Department, the Acting Head of Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, and the Executive Directors, team yake ahamba nazo, heads and senior management of various departments, our guests in the gallery, the communities that are listening and watching in various media houses, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, I rise and humbly welcome the report by the Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure. Indeed, when we tabled the policy speech and when we appeared before the committee, we're fully aware that we are a transitioning department towards being truly a nerve center for infrastructure development in the province. The year under review in our service delivery model has been termed the year of maturity. To be truly a mature department at the end of the strategy cycle, the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure is moving with speed to conclude the migration process for employees falling below the senior management service level. I must admit, this has been a long and tedious process which required due care and thorough consultation with organized labor as well as those affected. I'm, however, delighted to state that this process is in its last stages now, as the task team, the departmental task team, has concluded its work and employees are to receive the outcomes. We are confident that the process will be completed in overall before the end of the second quarter. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we remain steadfast in bringing about and instilling clean governance. Even though we have been incurring irregular expenditure on leases, I must say this too, the department is steadfast in providing a lasting solution. I confirm before this August House that before issuing of Treasury Instruction Note number 3 of 2021-22, which has better empowered accounting officers, this will go a long way in eradicating irregular expenditure in the lease portfolio. To cap it all, we are finalizing the review of our SCM policy, which will create a regime for procuring immovable assets, including leases. To be truly a mature department, we have for the first time set ourselves a target to reduce the usage of consultants. Among others, the department has ensured centralization of all professionals at head office and decentralization of construction project managers at the district level in terms of the new organogram. This will ensure strengthened capacity of professional services for project planning and support to implementation at district level. This transition, honorable members, will not be easy and will require hands on deck, and all hands on deck. We are maturing as well in the providing support to OTP in the coordination of infrastructure in the province through the Premier's Coordinating Council. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, I agree with the sentiments of the chairperson in his report that indeed more must be done to meet the revenue target of 79.1 million. Indeed, complying to the revenue study, we have identified the various sources of income and are maturing, consolidating, and harmonizing the area of land disposal through long-term leases. We have joined hands with the Office of the Premier in the review of the Eastern Cape Land Disposal Act to be aligned with the Government Immovable Asset Management Act, GIAMA, and the Public Finance Management Act, PFMA. This collaboration will ensure that the department meets the further obligations in collection and collectively. We admit that although we have secured more than 50 eviction orders from court, we have not moved with the same pace as expected. We are expected to serve and evict residents. We have set ourselves a process to reduce liability to the department, and at this stage I can assure the House that this arena too will do better in the year under review. Lando ke ye dependence to the department xa uyo evicta umntu athi ndizawubheka phi kukudala ndahlala apha okanye ndazalelwa apha, you know, we are stopping those such things. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we commit to enhance our capacity to create more full-time equivalents in the space of expanded public works program.
You are left with 3 minutes, Honorable MEC.
We seek to also assist other public bodies to achieve these targets. Our innovation in the EPWP space has been challenged to champion more innovation, to create more work opportunities and support SMMEs in the infrastructure space. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, the issue of load shedding is a reality, and as the department we are making strides and have already assessed 8 buildings appropriate for solar PV installations due to their energy demands. These include Ford House, Old Disaster Building, Maluti College, Tobile Bam Building, Old FNB Building, Social Cluster Offices, Social Development, and Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature Building to determine the financial feasibility for implementation in the 2023-24 financial year. Further, the department commits that all new infrastructure projects will have integrated energy solutions. Siyayithatha ke nale yokujonga the energy saving bulbs, and we shall implement it in the process. Honorable Chair, I once more appreciate the robustness of the Portfolio Committee when exercising its oversight responsibility. Regarding the Bishop Precinct, we are now preparing dates for meetings. IBEC has set, finally, and they said they cannot pronounce any expression of any opinion. They referred the matter back to the department for the department to further finalize negotiations with the recommended bidder or the developer, as well as National Treasury. Your gesture, honorable member, served to push the department to realize that which was envisaged in the beginning of the term to be truly a leader in provincial infrastructure delivery, coordination and socio-economic investment is finally achieved. I commit therefore that we will within 30 days provide written responses to the report by the portfolio committee. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. I put the report. Any objections? Secretary, can you read the fifth order of the day?
Consideration of vote number 1, Office of the Premier, Appropriation Bill 2023.
Honorable Mkhacha, 15 minutes.
Thank Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, Honorable Premier, Honorable Chief Whip, I do recognize you, Deputy Speaker, honorable members. Madis Bulseleng ale afternoon. Honorable Premier, congratulations. And as a birthday, I mean the augment and the birthday, but congratulations. Quickly, Deputy Chair of Chairs, Program 1 and administration, all findings are taken as read. All findings are taken as read. Therefore, my focus will be on recommendations. I'm not going to bore you with the detail in terms of the recommendation. I'll use my discretion in terms of which one to target. DG, how can I forget you? Under recommendation, the committee appreciates the 6.4 budget increase in the Office of the Premier. And that office must ensure that all programs miss the targets. C, the Office of the Premier must ensure that consultants are only used where the Office of the Premier does not have that capacity, e.g., your investigations. D, the Office of the Premier must ensure the implementation of constant monitoring of an audit improvement plan that will respond to all matters of emphasis. F, the committee commends the progressive plan. The Office of the Premier must ensure that it meets its 7% target as outlined in their report of employees with disabilities. H, the Office of the Premier must fill all vacant funded posts with immediate effect. Program 2, Planning, Policy Coordination, Monitoring and Evaluation. Recommendation A, the program must ensure that the budget supports the core business in the department, transform the department to a higher performance organization. B, the Office of the Premier must ensure that the 2 research reports are produced within the set time frames. C, the Office of the Premier must consider increasing the research coordination budget towards ensuring empirical verifiable service delivery planning. D, the OTP must ensure that no experience is required at all entry-level posts. F, the Office of the Premier must ensure that the process of bridging the gaps identified in the rollout of DDM1 plan is completed. Program 3, executive support and stakeholder management. The OTP must ensure that the program budget delivers effective executive support and stakeholder management. The OTP must continue to support top learner achievers who pass grade 12 and furnish the committee with a comprehensive report. C, the Office of the Premier must strengthen its capacity towards utilizing a wide range of communication platforms in communicating government programs effectively. D, the Office of the Premier must ensure effective monitoring of Isikalo Youth Fund projects towards proper utilization of disbursed funds, whilst ensuring the support and capacitation of supported initiatives towards self-sustenance. C, the Office of the Premier must honor the required period in responding to natural disasters and must capacitate and resource the disaster management or mitigation and response work stream. F, the OTP must ensure that the relevant mechanisms are in place to drive the implementation of lifestyle audits in the local government sphere. Program 4, governance, state capacity and institutional development support. Recommendation A, the Office of the Premier must ensure that the budget allocated for the program is utilized effectively and efficiently to implement service delivery in the province. B, the Office of the Premier must ensure that the budget allocated for legal costs is utilized effectively and efficiently. C, the work done on the broadband connectivity is appreciated by the committee, and the OTP must ensure that the rural parts of our province are adequately connected. D, the OTP must ensure the reconstituted interministerial task team completes its work in all HROPT-related matters as a matter of urgency and table a report to the committee in this regard. Exec, our entity. The entity must ensure that it reaches the high levels of maturity and support when implementing allocated budget in this financial year. Ensure the exec programs are implemented and responding to the organizational needs. B, the entity must ensure that all vacant posts are filled before the end of this financial year and that the additional work given to exec is fulfilled with immediate effect. C, the entity must sustain this achievement of obtaining clean audits opinion. D, the entity must improve in achieving all of its set outcomes. General findings and general recommendations. A, the provincial and local government must ensure that their internal systems are in place and that the existing institutions are developed towards optimal functioning with minimal reliance on consultant services. B, OTP, Department of Transport, together with local government, must have campaigns to discourage people residing within the province from registering their vehicles outside the province to improve revenue collection in the province. C, abantu bahlala pa boma friends obathenga imoto eDurban bayohafa eDurban bahafa eKZN sithi mabanqande kanti ngena kula mnqando ka honorable ndabanqanda bakungama banqanda. The provincial government must improve on its communication, especially on matters that represent huge opportunities on trade priorities between the United Arab Emirates. Mandifundi finding yali. Mandifundi lo finding. Honorable Chief Whip. The visit of the United Arab Emirates, UAE President, present huge opportunities for the province. The country is importing 95% of what they consume to the province, but the provincial government could not properly communicate in time the trade promotion to the surrounding communities. Recommendation. The provincial government must improve in all its communication, especially on matters that represent the huge opportunities on trade priorities between the United Arab Emirates and the province. So I endorse the program. My co-Premier. The Office of the Premier must continue making follow-ups on the payment of pensioners across departments and former mine workers, and must ensure that challenges pertaining to the processing of payouts are resolved. C, the Office of the Premier must ensure that the finalization of the work of the various task teams, such as reports, are presented to the committee. The provincial and national government must increase the security systems, monitor cameras, and ensure the cable theft is eliminated in the province. The government across must pay serious attention to this category by creating a diverse pool of income-generating opportunities, which will include decent work. As I conclude,
You are still left with 6 minutes.
liyaphela licala Chief Whip, limkile liphelile licala. Kodwa mandibulele kwi-staff, kwi-support staff se-OTP. Sibulele kwi-contribution made by the Office of the Premier, the DG, and the entire staff members. Sibulele to everybody who shaped this particular report. Inye nje into xa nihlala phansi. Mhlawumbe uPremier uzayiphendula xa sisiza ngaphambili. I struggle every day. And I struggle every day, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, to differentiate between the National Party of yesterday and DA of today. Ndiyafuna ke ngokuba Premier undincedise kule nto. Undincedise kule nto. Because I've listened to Honorable Botha phaa ngokwenikezela input yakhe. Yavela the question 80, what could be the difference today? Thanks, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs.
Thank you, Honorable Mkhaga. Honorable Khabe. $15 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs. Greetings to you, greetings to the Honorable Premier, the Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable MECs, Honorable members, as well as the DG. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, I will touch on the recommendations of the 3 departments, as well as the general findings and recommendations. Starting with OTP recommendations, the Office of the Premier must ensure that coordination of SPU is strengthened and functions properly. The Office of the Premier must ensure that sanitary dignity program is placed and coordinated by one department in the province, and must ensure that the program is functioning. The Office of the Premier must do research that will determine the amount required to start a business. A report in this regard must be submitted to the committee as soon as the research is completed. The Office of the Premier must ensure that gender machinery is revived and strengthened. The Office of the Premier must report on its SPU as well as the transversal special programs that give the overall picture of their performance in the provincial departments. Recommendations for the Department of Education. The department must prioritize employing women in all SMS positions until the target of 50% is achieved. The department must interact with school governing bodies to ensure that women are prioritized in the appointments of principals and deputy principals in order to achieve equity targets. The department must indicate what it will do differently to ensure that the target of 2% is achieved in employing persons with disabilities. The committee commends the department for filling up the special programs posts, and it must ensure that the position of Deputy Director, Gender and Youth is filled as soon as possible. The committee welcomes the bursaries that have been given to beneficiaries of military veterans. The department must ensure that the budget of SPU corresponds to the activities that will be done. The department must ensure that its SPU program is included in both the annual performance plan and the operational plan. The department must provide a report indicating the percentage of youth employed at present, as well as their employment target at the end of the present financial year. The report must reach the committee within 30 days of the adoption of these reports. And then social development recommendations. The committee commends the department for filling in all SPU positions. The department must ensure that 50% women representation is achieved before the end of this financial year. The committee welcomes the development of Provincial Women Empowerment and Gender Equity Strategy document in the province. The department must ensure that the 2024-2025 annual performance plan has output indicators of the special programs unit. The department must ensure that the sanitary dignity program is available to young girls of all the regions of the province that are supposed to get the services. The department must lead by example as the champion of youth development in the province and must ensure that 30% youth is employed as part of the workforce. General findings. The budget allocation for special programs unit is not standardized across provincial departments. There is an indication that some people with disabilities do not want to be dependent on social grants, and they have plans not to live on social grants. The committee has not seen a person with disability in any delegation of the departments that accounts to the legislature. General recommendations. The Office of the Premier must ensure that the budget of all SPUs in the province are standardized, in the provincial departments are standardized. The Office of the Premier must engage with organizations of people with disabilities that are able to generate their own income so that they can have exit plan that will ensure that people with disabilities do not entirely depend on social grants. The Office of the Premier must ensure that SPU delegates of the provincial departments also include persons with disabilities so that they are given an opportunity to address the committee themselves. The committee would like to express its gratitude to all members and departmental officials who availed themselves during the meetings to consider the budget votes and plans of the transversal special programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, any questions? None. Any questions, honorable members, to the Premier? Honorable Saziwa, one. No, to the Premier. Honorable Saziwa.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. I went through the report, understanding that the issue of Isiqalwa Youth Fund was shifted to the Office of the Premier. I just want to find out whether, under which program is the Iskalo Youth Fund being placed in terms of the budget? And having got an answer, if I'll get it, of course I'll get it. How much is been budgeted for Iskalo Youth Fund for this year under review? The second one, Chair, relates to EXEC. In that, in program 1, there's an appreciation of the increase of the budget of the program, of the department, and in particular, the utilization of consultants on transversal and leadership programs, forensic investigation, training of ethics, and so forth and so forth. But now on EXEC, we find that in terms of finding B, there's going to be an increase of the CO budget by 15% for additional work that EXEC is to fulfill during the year under review. What is this additional work that EXEC will be conducting? Because I thought that is one of our think tanks in the province. Because when you look at the skills and qualifications of senior managers there, all of them almost possess all these issues that, in terms of program 1, have been outsourced into consultants. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Premier. Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. On these questions that have come from Honorable Saziwa, firstly on Isikalo, Isikalo is on Program 3, under Program 3, with a 30 million budget. Honorable members will remember this year we spoke about 100 million over the medium-term expenditure framework. We've been battling with that, and last year we couldn't have a budget for Isikalo due to the budget reprioritization. But on the adjustment, we got something smaller, which has caused a lot of problems for us in the public. But it's something that we're working on due to the high demand of that. For work under consultancy are the areas of specialty that we are currently working on: research and evaluation, oceans economy, etc. All the areas that we've identified as niche that are led by the Office of the Premier. That's where we are. But also this is the work that is done in collaboration with the EXEC. So EXEC is doing an extended work, but also doing some work in the municipalities where they are also doing some strategic planning sessions and all that. So for EXEC to be sustainable as well, to do some little bit of cash sort of injection from their side out of the work that they are doing. So that's it. From where we are not having consultants to do work for the OTP, but on the time on task, particularly on the areas that we are still working on them from an empirical evidence point of view. Those are only areas that we are, but also the issues of Eastern Seaboard that is done under COGTA. That's another area where also EXEC is also working at. Thanks so much, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Honorable Botha. 12 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. I'm delivering this debate on behalf of Honorable Ngaba Banga. The Office of the Premier report has highlighted significant shortcomings within the department. First and foremost, the report reveals a concerning lack of effective financial management within the department. The Office of the Premier has shown that it lacks effective financial controls within the department, as it received an unqualified audit opinion with findings for the previous financial year. If the Premier wants to restore public trust, his department must develop and implement an audit improvement plan to address these findings and strive for a clean audit. His office must serve as an example for other departments and for municipalities around the province. Transparency, accountability, and good governance are non-negotiable in serving the people of this province effectively. The Office of the Premier has been found to rely excessively on external consultants, which raises the question about its own capacity and experience. While there are many cases where external support is necessary, such as vetting and investigations or involving the Auditor General, it should not be a default approach. The department must enhance its internal capabilities and reduce its dependencies on consultants, ensuring that public funds are utilized judiciously. There is no way to justify spending over 26 million rand on consultants. Instances of delayed payments of invoices and circumvention of due process are deeply concerning and undermining the principles of fairness and efficiency. It is imperative that these cases be promptly resolved and appropriate consequences applied. The Office of the Premier must set an example by upholding the highest standards of integrity and adhere to due processes. It is deeply concerning to note that there is a lack of monitoring of projects under the Isikalo Youth Fund in our province. The consequences of this negligence are grave, particularly when we consider the future demographic trends highlighted in the Eastern Cape Economic Consultative Council's reports. According to these reports, the population of individuals aged between 15 to 34 in the Eastern Cape is projected to decrease by 12.4% over the next 9 years, from 2.1 million in 2002 to 1.8 million in the near future. In stark contrast, the older population of 60 years and above is expected to experience a substantial increase of 33.7%, growing from 633,000 people in 2002 to 846 people by the end of this year, 2023. These statistics point to a worrying picture for our province. Without effective monitoring and support for these initiatives like the Isikala Youth Fund, we risk misusing crucial opportunities to empower our youth, who are the very foundation of our future. Moreover, so is that the older population grows, we must ensure that adequate measures are in place to address their evolving needs as well. The time for action is now, Deputy Chair of Chairs. We must hold ourselves accountable and prioritize the efficient monitoring and management of projects to prevent further dysfunction. By doing so, we not only invest in the potential of our youth who are able to feed back into the provincial economy, but let us seize this moment to bring about the necessary change and build a province that nurtures the aspirations of our youth. While an alarming situation is unfolding in various parts of our country, where extreme floods and winds are wreaking havoc on our communities, it is concerning that the Office of the Premier is still struggling to respond to natural disasters within the stipulated timeframes. OTP must resource the disaster management response work stream so that it can perform optimally in future. The DA will continue to demand a commitment to effective financial management, transparency and good governance from the Office of the Premier. There is an urgent need to change this trajectory of the Eastern Cape from a failed province to a caring and capable government that works for the people. It is time to transform this province from a place of despair to a land of rising opportunity. I thank you. And just on Honourable Mkhaga's question, what is the difference between a national party and the DA? There's a huge difference because you swallowed some of the national party ministers yourself. And I can stand here and I can tell you what's a huge difference between the DA and the national party. But you swallowed them as well. Now, let me explain to you. The DA upholds the new constitution of South Africa, where the National Party didn't believe in the rights that in that constitution. In fact, the DA was part of CODESA that helped create this new constitution, Honourable Mkhaga. And let me go further. I myself was one of the protectors at CODESA that ensured that the leadership of the ANC and the DA was safe when we transferred this country. So,
Let's not start with
On a point of order, Honourable
Substantiate.
Honourable Acting Chair, on a point of order,
I
please.
love this country and I love you.
Honorable Kasim.
Honourable Chair, you can hear members of the ANC drowning out the speaker.
Which rule are you raising?
No, Honourable Chair. You
No,
can hear
no,
that
no,
the
no,
honourable
no,
members
no,
are
no.
drowning out the speaker
Which rule?
because
are
they
you
don't want to
raising?
hear what he has to
No,
say. I would
Honourable
urge that you
Kasim,
protect the
if
speaker.
you are not going to quote
No, but Chair,
the
asking
rule,
to quote the rule. You
please
have to
sit
protect.
down, sit
You have
down,
to protect
Honourable
the
Kasim.
speaker.
You must
Like every
follow
other
the
speaker.
rules. You don't just.
I can see,
raise
Chair,
a
why you
point
don't
of
occupy that chair very often.
You don't just raise a point of order without quoting a rule. Proceed, Honourable.
Thank you,
Bertha.
Deputy Chair of Chairs, but I don't want to waste everybody's time. You are tired, but please send Honourable Mkhaga to me for some abet on the difference between the National Party and the DA. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Werner. It's 8 minutes, no?
We are not going to. We are not going to be long, Deputy Chairperson.
Order,
of
honourable
Chairs.
members.
I want to
The
greet
floor
the
is for
leadership.
Honourable Werner. Honourable Werner, proceed.
I want to greet the leadership of the EFF here, and yourself, Deputy Chair of Chairs, and everyone here. We are not going to be long. We are just going to speak a different language that some of your people that are here are scared to tell you. I see also Honorable Banga ran away because of he is scared to tell you the honest truth of how the people of this Eastern Cape feel about you. Greeting to everyone in the name of Tsietsi Mashinini, Tiro, and Bantu Biko, and
Sorry,
all freedom
Honourable
for.
Werner.
Why must we?
Honourable Deputy Chief.
On Rule 97, Deputy Chair of Chairs.
Yes.
These are members. These are just honourable members.
Thank
If
you.
the member
Language.
can do that.
Honourable Werner.
But I said everyone.
No,
What is
Honourable
wrong with
Werner,
that?
can you respect our rules? Address all the members as honourable members, not everyone.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair of Chairs.
Proceed.
We are standing here on behalf of the youth of this Eastern Cape, proudly wearing our red overall, which represent the poor of the poor. Many think we wear this overall because we like attention and have no respect for this house. None of this is true. We wear these overalls to remind them, the few people who are working in this province, who are watching us in this house, that we represent their interest. We wear this overall to remind the youth of Eastern Cape that not all is lost, even though they don't find job, but at least there is hope under the EFF government. We wear this overall to keep hope in the hearts of our people that economic freedom is on its way. Deputy Chair of Chairs, the office of the Premier is supposed to be a model of good governance and good management that other departments use. Instead, the department is riddled with poor financial management, poor governance, to an extent of there are instances of fraud and corruption. This office has received an unqualified audit for 2022 and 2023, meaning that the Auditor General identified some financial mismanagement issues in the office. Fraud and corruption in the office is a matter of concern, as the office has several cases relating to corruption, corrupt supply chain management, and non-payment of service providers. This inability to efficiently deal with minor financial management matters is a clear reflection of a poor state of leadership by the sitting Premier. The office of the Premier has failed to get a clean audit since the Premier took over. This reflects on a corrupt nature of his party and himself. The Auditor General has noted poor implementation of legislative and financial controls in the office of the Premier. There is a clear disregard and creative implementation of law and regulation that govern the use of money. The office of the Premier must explain to us how they have been unable to deal with a simple matter such as a mere paying service providers. The lack of transparency and poor governance in the office is a problem that this House must tackle head on. Deputy Chair of Chairs, as this relates to the Isikalo Youth Fund, the House must be deeply concerned by the report that was tabled in the committee on the office on the committee by the Office of the Premier relating to Isikalo Youth Fund. The House must be concerned by the mismanagement of 150 million allocated for the development of young people. The House must acknowledge that young people in the province have been unable to get funding for their business ventures and other developmental support due to the dysfunctional nature of Isikalo Youth
You are
Fund.
left with 3 minutes.
Why are you and Rob? Why are you
8
and Rob?
minutes, 17,
Chin.
19.
Madam Speaker, in my 3 minutes, let me deal with the big elephant on the room. You see, when Premier, the problem is that you've got people now that are behaving like those who were in the cabinet of Jacob Zuma. They are clapping hands for you now. They are pretentiously celebrating this thing, the pronouncement of today. But I can tell you now, most of them, they contacted us on the issue of that bullying. And we have advanced that issue of bullying, and they don't know that we know that there is a big thing coming in PE. But we are following that. Aren't you going to hand over the sea of PE into those people? You will know what I'm talking about. They don't know. Look at them. They are quiet. Because I know that those people want to build an island there in PE. We are aware of that. He's not pronouncing it, but I can tell you now, he's going to pronounce on it very soon. You are quiet. You like Indaba, ne? But I can tell you, we are following up on that more than 400 billion investment that is going to happen there. They are quiet. You can see they are ready to receive. We are following up. We will make sure that there is no corruption that happens here. We know that you are leaving. You are left with only few months. You are leaving, and you are collecting for your exit. Ne? You are collecting for your exit. We are not going to allow that. Ingalo yomthetho inde. You might think today you have won something. It's just part 1. There is part 2 coming, and we are going to zonke izinto ikhona ingoma lebuyicula pha usithi uSathane uyandizulela. Akukho Satan ukuzulelayo. Zizenzo zakho. Zi on to you. There is no Satan. You down with dear down.
Honorable members, can I advise you? It's just a candid advice. You must be very careful when you are uttering words here. Uyateshwa apha, uteshiwe. You rather use it is alleged. Yeah. Don't just say umntu wenze into ethile because xa sowulandelelwa kuzawuthatha yonke le nto uyithethayo. It is alleged. You rather use that word. Can we then proceed to Honorable Dr. Bese? 9 minutes, Honorable Dr. Person.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, allow me to take this opportunity to greet you, the Honorable Premier, his Executive Council, members of the Provincial Legislature, Chief Whip of the Majority Party, Deputy Speaker, government officials, and our guests in the gallery. First and foremost, I just want quickly, Honorable Chair of Chairs, to say something to Honorable Werner. Honorable Werner was here, he was just twerking, you know, for the attention of the CIC, you know, talking falsehood and political scrap lies, you know. Honorable Premier is the leader. You don't just speak like to somebody who's a leader. Chairperson, I was just warning you, don't respond. I'm debating on behalf of the African National Congress. Ndima apha egameni lenqwele emasondo-sondo. Ayinazo yiswe nangubani na. Zijongo zonke zawana stress car next year. We're talking about black, green and gold. ANC will remain People's Parliament. As the African National Congress, we want to indicate from the onset that we support the report presented by the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, as well as the budget tabled by the Office of the Premier. We note and welcome the budget increase of the department by 6.4% for the current financial year. Through this increase, we believe that the department will incentivize and deliver services with much vigor and fortitude, as it usually does. But take note that the budget of the Isiqalo Youth Fund is 30 million, of which we also propose as ANC that during adjustment in November, let us put 60 million on top of that 30 million, so that our youth can produce more in terms of what Isiqalo is doing. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we are nearing the end of the term of this sixth administration. As such, it is our wish that when we take leave of these hallowed offices, we will be leaving a lasting legacy behind that future generations. We look back on with pride and joy. We want them to take pride in the work that we would have done, as we are convinced that this department and many others would finally register clean audit outcomes that have proven themselves to be elusive over the years. We won't cease to call for these outcomes, as we believe that clean audit outcomes are a clear sign that our finances are not only handled properly, but are used for what they are meant for. Added to this, we want clean audit outcomes to be accompanied by accomplished of targets set through timely service delivery and monitoring. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, there is a standing outcry from the broader public that the delivery of services by government is moving at a snail pace, and we can sense that the public patience is growing thin daily. Hence, we call all the executive not to tolerate mediocrity in their offices and share laziness by people who are paid to implement government service delivery programs. The catalytic projects that are being implemented in the province by government couldn't have come at a better time, given the elusive poverty and unemployment lines confronting us. We believe, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, that the N2 Wild Coast Highway will not only facilitate ease of movement of people and goods, but would also foster the regeneration of local business, including boosting the much-needed tourism in the areas affected. As of necessity, new towns and industries will hopefully be built along this route and put further impetus in our fight against poverty and unemployment. We also welcome the construction of the Mtetu Bridge and can only wait to amuse ourselves with the engineering wonder of the Msikaba Bridge, which it is said is going to be the longest cable-stayed bridge in Africa. Can you clap hands for that bridge? According to the internal research outcomes that we regularly conduct as the ANC, the two major outcries of our communities in the lack of running water from the government-installed water taps and the constant outages of electricity from our homes. With the construction of Mzimvubu Dam, we are convinced that these complaints from the communities will soon be a thing of the past, especially in the eastern part of the province.
3 minutes left.
We are elated that this dam construction project will also yield the much-needed work opportunities, including reviving the agricultural potential of the area. We encourage our people to sharpen their hooves and empower themselves with the latest skills in agricultural production. We know from research that the former Transkei was said to have a potential of becoming a breadbasket of the country, if not the SADC region. As such, with the construction of the dam, we hope that this will finally be realized. We also noted that the improvement of audit outcomes of the municipalities, hope that this will be the trend going forward. We are not going to speak in tongues when decrying irregular, wastefully, and unauthorized expenditure in that sphere of government, as municipality constitute a critical delivery arm of government. This of necessity must include the ending of return of funds by municipality to the treasury, whilst there are serious infrastructure backlogs staring us in our faces at the level of the municipalities. Municipality debt, incorrect billing must be fought and ended by all of us, as they cause unnecessary headaches for many of our community members. The province is constantly hit by natural disasters on an annual basis. As such, the government must rid itself to respond accordingly whenever these unfamiliar and unwelcome natural occurrences land in the province. The baseline data of families affected by natural disasters must constantly updated, as there are some individuals who claim to have been waiting for government relief for years. Otherwise, we applaud the interventions that the government has made and continue to make to many families in the province. The relationship between the government and traditional leaders must be nurtured and cherished, as traditional leaders are key in realizing the development goals of the province. This may take the form of expecting traditional leaders' applications, claims, and disputes, as these negatively affect their work. We applaud sessions that are constantly held by the department and the Provincial House of Traditional Leaders, as they display the seriousness with government takes these critical stakeholders in the governance and the development of the province. Last but not least, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, the African National Congress supported the budget tabled by the department and welcomed the report of the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee of the Office of the Premier. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Pese. Honorable Mbonyana. Also 9 minutes.
Sure. Thank you very much, Deputy Chair of Chairs. Allow me, Deputy Chair of Chairs, to write on the protocol that has already been established in the interest of time. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, as we make our contribution to this budget vote debate, allow me to express our appreciation to the departments that found it within their busy schedule to present themselves to the Portfolio Committee to account for their actions or inactions. A special word of gratitude goes to the Office of the Premier, which has been a consistent visitor to our meetings. We won't cease, honorable members, to bemoan the constant absence and irregular appearance by some departments to the Portfolio Committee meetings. I am hopeful that this is a matter that the Executive Committee would be seized with a view to putting it to rest. Honorable members, this budget vote debate takes place during the Youth Month that honors the scores of our youth who made their contributions in the reversal and ultimate destruction of colonial conquest and apartheid systemic oppression in South Africa and beyond. We salute the generation of youth who, from successive decades, if not centuries, never betrayed the cause of the continent's desire to free herself from the bondages of these terrible and immoral episodes of social evolution and human development on planet Earth. We respect and admire them for their contribution and hold those who fell in the battle to liberate us and the continent in high regard and esteem. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, the youth of today faces a different struggle whose mission they must clearly define and accomplish. If I were to paraphrase Franz Fanon, allow me, honorable members, to venture out and say that part of the task that the youth of today must carry out is to empower themselves with education and technical skills that will allow them to be productive adults and responsible members of the society. The school infrastructure backlog is still staggering given the years of neglect by the previous governments, particularly in the former Bantustan areas. This is further compounded by under-expenditure on infrastructure development budget at times. However, we note the sterling work undertaken by the department in building modern schools in our townships and villages across the province. We must warn and discourage the learners and students alike from destroying school or university properties when expressing their frustrations. The destruction and theft of education facilities is nothing but a self-defeating exercise that not only prevents the current generation from studying under conducive learning environment, but also denies future generations from enjoying proper learning facilities. On the same breath, honorable members, we call upon the management of these institutions to be proactive in addressing students and learner grievances before they result into undesirable actions by the aggrieved parties. The learner teacher support material, school nutrition program, education and general assistance are but some of the programs that the government is providing in building a proper learning environment, which the youth must fully utilize to empower themselves to be productive citizens of the future that I have just alluded to. The prevalence of narcotic drugs and drug lords in our society has hit the youth very hard as a result and has resulted into negative consequences for our communities. The incidences of murder and rape of elderly and children have a direct linkage to drug and alcohol abuse by the youth and other members of the society. This is a scourge, honorable members, that has visited our communities that we must uproot, as the consequences of such a failure are too horrifying to think of. We appreciate, honorable members, the collective strides taken by the law enforcement agencies and the ordinary citizens to combat this blight in our social image. And as the Premier, through you, honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, ukuba abaphanya-phanya benike ndababona eGoli abanakuba yinto enokusincedisa apha ephondweni ekulweni lo mcelimngeni. I am sure that this is an area that the Executive Committee will look at and come to a determination in the fullness of time. The unemployment rate afflicting our youth is something that greatly worries us as African National Congress. The strides taken by government in this regard are quite inspiring, giving testimony to the caring nature of our society and government. We know, honorable members, that there's a lot of ground that still needs to be covered by all in this area, and conscious of the fact that not all of us would become public servants. The youth of this province must take advantage of the opportunities provided by Isiqalo Youth Fund to become seasoned entrepreneurs that will be able to meaningfully contribute to the fight against unemployment and poverty, both in their families and broader society. The agricultural sector should be seen by our youth and the designated groups at large as a launchpad towards addressing the triple challenges threatening the social fiber of present-day South Africa. The program persuaded by the government in this field are noted and commendable. The land reform and agricultural programs of the government will and must assist us in great deal, especially as it relates to equitable land allocation and strict production levels that will ensure food security for our country and the entire world if we were to accomplish a flourishing and all-inclusive agricultural sector. Ngokuqinisekileyo, honorable members, this reform program must racialize both our rural and urban economies so that we may finally end inequality in South Africa. Yabona ke, these are the areas that the designated groups must be affirmed in and must play an active and visible role in more intense and robust ways going forward. The economic productivity of any nation's honorable members
3 minutes.
Depends on the health and mental vitalities of its citizens. We must thank the Department of Health and all involved in its ability to navigate us through horrific COVID-19 pandemic. I am sure, honorable members, that the people would agree with me when I say that the pandemic hit the members of this social group the hardest. The imminent final processing of the NHI bill into law give us a great opportunity to finally realize universal access to health in our lifetime. We therefore are very elated that the majority of our people will gain access to quality health services as it is done elsewhere in the world. The protection and promotion of the dignity of the designated groups is finding direct and firm expression in the human settlements that are regularly springing up in the provincial landscape. The human settlement development projects, including catalytic projects in this area, must continue to put the designated groups as central and key factors in their evaluation outcomes. We cannot, honorable members, but marvel at the beaming faces of the beneficiaries of this housing project delivered by the government, and we are confident that this will continue in the future. Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, the experience that we have had with the designated groups, Honorable Premier, tells us that they are more resolute not to survive on social security budget forever. It tells us that they are more prepared to take charge of their lives than ever before. We are convinced that economic empowerment of these groups in the tourism, transportation, minerals, and other industrial sectors must be persuaded by the public and the private sector in the province and the country. We are noting the government's contribution in this regard. However, we feel that the private sector sees itself as being insulted from this national pursuit of economic empowerment of these designated groups. The two sectors, honorable members, must play a collaborative and complementary role if we are to make a visible dent in the advancement of the designated groups. Mandisho ke somlomo ukuba we put our trust in the ability of the executive committee to impress upon their counterparts in the private sector to enforce equity regulations and policies more vigorously, including economic empowerment. And ndiyazi ke somlomo beke Deputy Chair of Chairs that the Office of the Premier has been up and about in ensuring that these are realized through its mainstreaming of socio-economic inclusion and the designated groups through its oversight role. We value the advocacy program rolled out by government, but this must have the attendant consequence management to those expected to honor and implement equity targets, as ignorance can no longer be used as a justification for the lack of action. As I dissent, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we must re-emphasize the importance of the accomplishment of these targets as set out in our government legislation and departmental policies and plans as being sacrosanct. As it has been said that these budget votes, honorable members, signal the end of an era for six-term administration. As such, we must, as we take our last bows, be happy and fulfilled at the realization of these targets by the departments. For anything less, honorable members may ensure our non-return as members of this portfolio committee. Siyanicela ke magosa kunye nee-departments zingabi zi-determining factors in our fate, including those that are hard to come to our meetings. I'm convinced, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, that members of the Portfolio Committee and Legislature will agree with me when I say the report presented by the chairperson has been clear and precise. As such, it needs no further elaboration. The African National Congress supports the report. Thank you.
Honorable Premier, 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. The protocol is observed. And good afternoon to all members. Let me take this opportunity to appreciate the report prepared by the respective committees for the Office of the Premier and Special Programs. The debate that has ensued on the reports by members of the House is appreciated, Honorable Chair. The inputs of members of the House are always enriching to us as we implement government programs, and there will be no exception to what is raised in the reports that were tabled here today. As members would know, this is the last financial year for the 6th administration, and therefore our focus is on adding agility on implementation of the government programs than initiating new programs. The Office of the Premier had an increase of 6.4% on its budget, and that increase took our budget to 1.2 billion. The Portfolio Committee of both OTP and Special Programs played a pivotal role in us getting that budget increase, because members of both committees understand the magnitude of the mandate of the Office of the Premier and its responsibility. Hence, it must be adequately funded. I can assure the members of the House that we will strive to use the increased budget prudently sparing, no rand or cent, to improve the lives of our people in our communities. We made a business case for an increase in our budget because we wanted to upscale our programs to reach more beneficiaries, particularly in the vulnerable groups we serve, which we all know: elders, women, youth, persons with disability, and military veterans. Last week we held a successful Youth Day commemoration in Gqeberha, where we were educating and reminding current generation about heroics of the youth of 1976. We reminded the current youth of the atrocious acts of murderers like Gideon Nieuwoudt, Nicholas Janse van Rensburg, Gerrit Erasmus, and Hermas du Plessis, who killed and burned the bodies of the sons of Kwazakele, Topsima Daga, and Sipho Mtimkulu. You see, to us as the ANC-led government, talking about past is part of healing process. We are disappointed that leaders of the opposition do not encourage their supporters and members to participate in such historic events and encourage reconciliation. Nevertheless, we also use Youth Day to appraise.
Sorry, Honorable Premier, Honorable Cousin.
Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs, is the Honorable Premier willing to take a question?
No.
Honorable Premier.
As soon as we are done here, thank you. Nevertheless, we also used the Youth Day to appraise the youth people of our province about what government programs we're doing in our departments to ensure the service in their needs. We handed out equipment to beneficiaries of Isikalo Youth Fund and pronounced to young people that we are setting up war room to expedite applications for funding. Funding has been a problem. We've got more than 1,500 applicants into that funding with a very far less funding that we had. There's never been 150 million. You know, people like Honorable Verna, they speak all these things and they leave so that they are not responded to properly. There's never been 150 million. It's a lie, a joke, and some people are just raising things that are in the figment of their imagination. So the House must be aware about that. We are working collaboratively with our sitters to address the point that Honorable Mbonyane was raising of getting more opportunities in terms of skills development. This month on the 30th, I'm meeting all the 30 CEOs, all the CEOs of our sitters, 23 of them under one roof here in the province, because currently only 5 that are active to deal with that. We also committed to upscale the job creation initiatives that are targeted, and the youth targeted the youth and reprioritizing our budget. We spoke about that in our SOPA, the 200,000 jobs that we'll be creating. We are working on that, and I can tell you we'll be able to do even more than that. There are over 119,000 employees in the entirety of the Eastern Cape Public Service, and the youth accounts for 16% of that population. This is the picture we are committed to change in the remaining months of the term by filling vacant posts. I've made sure that all departments actually comply with this one. That's non-negotiable. Attracting investment to our province remains the main priority to create jobs. During this term, we attracted new investments into our province to the value of about 171 billion. That means factories have been opened. Currently at Kucha, you have got about 53 factories that are operating as we speak, and other companies have expanded operations to hire more people. As a result, these investments, Stats SA says, we have reduced the unemployment rate in our province by 7% from 47.9% in 2020 to now 40% in the first quarter of 2023. As we committed in SOPA, we are aggressively pursuing economic diplomacy to attract more international investment to our shores. I recently welcomed to our province the Consul General of China, who is keen to further economic matters. Our pursuit in investment will also see us exploring robust promoting our province in the Middle East. We have it on good authority that Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran are interested to join BRICS. These countries are a platform for us to diversify our trades to international markets, and we are not deterred by the negativity that accompanied the landing of UAE President at Ebulembu. In fact, there is a second request to visit our province by the President. He's requesting to visit in July or in August. So now in him we have got a more reliable person to our working on. So I'm disappointed that EFF, at the level of them calling themselves commissars, they can't differentiate between Ireland and Ireland. Ireland is a country. Ireland is something else. There's never been something like that will be done. So it's really disappointed for people to call themselves commissars, but they lack basics on understanding concepts. So it's a problem that we are dealing with in the kind of an opposition we have in this province. Honorable Member, in 2 months' time, our country will be hosting a BRICS summit. It is highly anticipated conference globally, and the Eastern Cape, we have been hosting build-up programs associated with BRICS summit. Today, stakeholders and representatives from BRICS countries gathered here at East London ICC in a roadshow to unpack South Africa's chairmanship of BRICS, as well as to explore trade and investment opportunities emanating from South Africa.
3 minutes left.
In BRICS economic bloc. This was second BRICS working group session in our province. We started at Port Alfred with the working group on employment. So this is the kind of work that we're doing, Chair, and they would want ICC to respect the sovereignty of the countries. We expect all presidents, head of states of BRICS countries to come here. We'll be rolling out red carpet for any president who will be coming our way, including Russia. We welcome the initiative of African heads of states to reach out to Ukraine and Russia to work for peace in the world. So we believe there can't be a prosperity where there is no peace. That's the leadership that we're providing as this country, except those who are living in this country, but they belong somewhere. Most people are asking, what is all friends about BRICS? In BRICS countries, we are talking about the bloc of easily accounts for approximately 42% of the world's population, around 23% of global GDP, and approximately 16% of world trade. If you add to that potential of the African continental free trade area with a population of about 1.3 billion people and combined gross domestic product of approximately 3.4 trillion US dollars, then you have a formidable game changer in the struggle for a more just and equitable world. South Africa is in the right trading bloc with BRICS, whether you like it or not. As we have said in our SOPA policy speeches, infrastructure development is key to economic growth. We are highly impressed with the work that is happening in all corners of our province in terms of infrastructure development. You can see the province is becoming a kind of a construction site. I'm scheduled to hand over the site, the road from here, Bishop, to N6. It has been awarded. The road from N6 to Kumcha, this whole 70 kilometer will be done now, not the other time. So this is the kind of work that we're doing. The road between Dikeni and Kwamakoma is finished. is waiting for us to hand it over. There are so many of such roads. If you cross the Kai River at the Kai mouth, you go up to Tsendane, that road has been surfaced up until it gets there. If you move out of Kajana down to Dwesa, you travel the first phase of 15 kilometers. We are working on others. Honorable Ms. Ngate will come with such details. There's a lot of work that we're doing to improve the road network infrastructure to ensure that we improve our logistics, to improve our economy. Honorable Chair, I don't want to say much, but work is being done on health. Work is being done soon. Here in July, we'll be handing over that 500 million plus hospital that we've built at Spetu. State-of-the-art, world-class health facility that we've done for our ordinary people on the ground. We are handing over schools throughout the month. We've built world-class schools throughout. I said to the MEC, all those schools must be handed over. That time is around. Somlomo, the fight against crime must be pursued by all of us. We recently opened a police station in Cheti in Gqeberha with the Minister of Police, but we feel more boots are needed on the ground to fight crime. Every corner that criminals tend to, there must be a police officer. Patrols by police in communities working with private security firms should be a norm for us to have safe communities. We welcome the budget set aside by SAPS for CPF's tools of trade. Minister has announced this thing. About 6.5 million has been earmarked for Eastern Cape out of 70 million nationally. So we welcome that to buy cars for CPFs and their tools of trade to make sure that we strengthen their involvement and their capacity. I want to update the House once again that the forensic laboratory we spoke about in our State of the Province address to assist fast-tracking and processing of swabs and specimens for rape cases is now fully operational in Nelson Mandela with potential of expansion. Actually, we want to take the entire building. We're talking to Public Works to relocate other departments that are there. So President is waiting for President to come and officially hand over at any time. Honorable Speaker, I thought let me make those few remarks as an act of welcoming the reports that were tabled here and appreciate the Office of the Premier Portfolio Committee for their diligent oversight, but also appreciate DG or OTP team for their sterling job. We are turning that department. It has had its own fair share of problems. We've got a new organogram. We're populating it. We're concluding that. I can tell you it will be getting that clean audit at any time soon. We're working on the issues of broadband, as we've been saying. I hear that Honorable Botha was once a protector during that, and I can see, I can feel him as he was standing there. Probably he can be also a good next candidate for mayor of Nelson Mandela, as you keep on trying on Nelson Mandela. So you might as well try him there. So Kasim, Honorable Kasim, there's nothing like 150 million. Honorable members must not just easily say things and lie around and throw things that they don't know. So at least there must be a sense. We welcome the inputs that the revenue generation. People in Alwal North must not register their cars in Free State. People in Alfred Nzo North must not register cars in Kokstad, because that's a revenue to our province. The revenue generation needs that kind of intervention. So we do really appreciate. So already we've got to receive a note verbal for the second visit of the President and DECO and presidents that are attending that visit. We're expecting that. Yes, of course, we are mobilizing investments because we are looking for a waterfront in Nelson Mandela. It's not an island or Ireland, Vienna. You see, it's a waterfront. We're looking at all investors. UAE investors are interested to come and invest in that waterfront as we relocate those manganese tanks into the Kucha. So we're opening the other space to open jobs. We have a waterfront, and stop going to Cape Town for a waterfront. You have it here in Eastern Cape, and stop telling us about things that you don't know about the Western Cape. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. I put the report. Any objections? That concludes the discussion on this matter and the business for the day. The House is adjourned until tomorrow, 21st June 2023 at 2:15. The House is adjourned.